Welcome to the True North Fantasy Football Podcast.
What up, fantasy people? Live from Dirty Laundry Studios, I'm Trav, and I am back with the True North Fantasy Pod. Stoked about this episode. You can find me on Twitter at TCL14. Check out the site for the team's written work at truenorthffb.com, and make sure you subscribe to the TNFF network on YouTube. Lots of collaboration going on with the team right now. We actually have 5 weekly live shows on the TNFF network. So big kudos to the A team crushing out that content for the brand. Really appreciate the boys and the work over there. And without further ado, I want to bring my guests in tonight. I am super stoked for this. We have just, I guess to my left, I don't know who's right on the video screen. I got my True North cohort, Will Harris. You can find him at It's Harris Time. Like I said, he's a member of the crew at True North, creator of the CNBBCL, co-owner of Viridian Global, all sorts of stuff. Will, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, Trav, man. It's nice to get out on a weeknight and jam with the boys. It's been a couple minutes since we've had an opportunity to do it, and this is one that I booked in the calendar and got the permission to put the kid to bed early and rock out with you two guys. So I'm super excited to be here and jam with Mikey Boy and part of the Dynasty Rewind crew. So I'm jazzed to be here, man.
Absolutely. So you kind of blew my intro there by introing him before I could. Thanks a lot, Willie style.
It's what I do, man.
Absolutely.
It's what I do.
Absolutely. So without further ado, we got Mike friggin' Bauer, baby, from the Dynasty Rewind. You can find him at the mbauer85. He is the host with the most over there. Follow the pod at Dynasty Rewind. And he is True North's United Bestie of America. Mike, How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm fantastic. Really happy to be here. One of my favorite podcasts. I was saying that before the show. Don't miss it, although I won't listen this week because I'm on it. So, don't double up.
Yeah, so. I'm stoked to have you back. What's it been like over a month since we had this guest spot planned out in preparation for Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So I figured I know you guys record on Wednesdays and I'm off tomorrow. So, because I go to bed early, mostly because I'm old. I'm up at 5 a.m. as well. So figured this would be great. Maybe we could get together over my Christmas break too, possibly. Who knows?
Let's make it happen, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's make it happen.
I'm taking the week of Christmas off. So
I love it. I'm probably going to have a little bit of time off around then too. So we will definitely make it happen, my man. And shout out to all the Rewind boys as well. Yes. We got Porkman, Charles Porkley himself, Chev. We got Chev down there in Arizona. Is he still rocking the stash, Mike?
I think he shaved it. I'm not sure.
Dang, I thought he might still be rocking it, but
Trev,
it was beautiful.
Being the host, sometimes it's hard. Like you're looking at comments, you're trying to keep everything flowing. I don't get to look at the guys as much during the pod as I'd like to because I got something else going. Look at Dingus chiming in. It's an amateur stash. Look at that.
Yeah. Wow. I like the Be Kind Rewind.
Yeah, check all those guys up. You can find Porkman at FF Porkman, Chev's at Chev Boyer D Boy with an I. You could follow Nate Christian at Nate XFL, and I promise you his takes are not as generic as his Twitter handle. And check out our intern too at Rewind Intern, Sean, honorary Canadian. He's a fantastic guy. He was on our live stream last night. So follow all those guys in the show at Dynasty Rewind. Please. It's appreciated.
Absolutely. And yeah, Sean is definitely an honorary Canadian, especially with a last name like Fournier. He's one of us. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, find those boys on Tuesdays and Fridays live streaming Waiver Show. And then the Friday night show is always a great way to kick off the weekend. Will, I'm going to switch back to you real quick. I talked about you as the co-owner of Viridian Global, the suppliers of our wonderful merch, as anybody watching may be able to see behind me, as well as got the Goat District shirt that I'm rocking, as well as Mike's shirt. And I'm sure that Will's shirt right now is probably a Viridian shirt. So why don't you talk, and the hat too, the JSS baby. Why don't you talk a little bit about the Viridian Football Collective and what's going on over there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been super exciting. So, really appreciate all the support from the Dynasty Rewind, from True North. Every step of the way, this wouldn't really be possible without your support. And yeah, we're just rock and rolling. We're into month 3, and every month we just keep growing. That's in terms of the designs that we have, the amount of partners that we have. We just brought on the Dynasty Vipers, so shout out to Dingus on that. Really happy to have them aboard, and we continue to grow. And really, the Football Collective is about getting kick-ass gear out there that's high quality and super comfortable. And I know that you guys can speak to this. Every single piece of merchandise that we put out there is tried and tested. I'm not going to put my name, Viridian's name, on anything that doesn't hit those marks for us. So we're we pride ourselves in the quality and the comfort aspect, and we're just going to continue to keep rocking that. We've got some kick-ass designs that are going to drop tomorrow. Unfortunately, we're one game short, so we probably won't drop some of the Ravens Baltimore designs that we had in mind, but certainly keep your eyes peeled tomorrow, where we're going to be dropping some hot new designs that my partner Mark has designed and mocked up. So keep tuned in. We're always literally dropping fresh designs, like Mike's awesome Cut Nate Gary campaign shirt, one of our hottest sellers for sure. Still available on the site. So keep your eyes peeled. We're continually adding new partners. We've got a couple that are coming up that are really exciting. So again, just want to say, hey, thanks everybody out there for making this such a huge success, and really appreciate all the support. And yeah, keep your eyes peeled too. I just put in a massive order of hats. So keep your eyes peeled for snapbacks and dad hats coming at you.
I just want to say real quick, that ugly Christmas sweater that you guys have on there, or the fantasy football holiday sweater, might be.
Man, like, you're a host. You are a podcast host without even knowing it, because I was going to say that we actually have a really cool promo that we're doing in partnership with our friends over at Goat District. So make sure you go follow them at Goat District. Like I said, I'm rocking the shirt tonight. And so what we're doing is we both have holiday sweaters over on Viridian Global. And this is actually Goat's idea, so I can't take credit for it. I really appreciate him including us in it. It's super exciting to do for the holidays. And so what we've decided to do along with Viridian is, for every sale of the holiday sweater that we have on viridianglobal.com, we are going to donate all profits to the Salvation Army over the holiday season. So that's profits from myself, or from True North, and from Goat District, as well as from Viridian Global. All profits from those designs are going to go to Salvation Army to help out. COVID's been a struggle for a lot of people, and Salvation Army is, not exempt from that. They've been struggling as well. So JD over at Goat District had an awesome idea that we could help give back this holiday season, and I'm super excited to do it. I'm so glad that you were on board with Viridian as well, Will. And shout out again to JD and Dan over at Goat District. On top of that, anybody who goes and buys another True North, Goat District, or Viridian item over at viridianglobal.com on top of that sweater order will get free shipping on their order. So just another nice little cherry on top there for anybody who decides to support. And the goal there is, to help give back a little bit over the holiday season, because we're all having a lot of fun doing the podcasting and, networking with each other, getting designs up there. And it's nice to be able to have an awesome product that we can provide with people, and have them in turn give back to the Salvation Army, which is definitely a staple in Canadian cities across the country. So thanks again for being on board with that, Will.
Yeah, absolutely. As Michael Scott says, it's a win-win situation. So we're hats off to JD and Dan for getting behind this. Trav, yourself, we're happy to do our part at Viridian as well. So those are live right now. You can jump in there and start ordering those sweaters. And then again, to Trav's point, when you add in an extra shirt from Viridian or from Goat District or from True North, there's a promo code that you can use, which was Ugly Sweaters 2020. Was that
That's
what we
right.
settled
Yes,
on?
we did settle. There was much deliberation
There's a
about
lot.
about the promo code.
That was probably the hardest portion of the whole deal, was figuring out the promo code. But you
Totally
punch that
was.
in and everything else taken care of, and then you get free shipping in the US and Canada.
Yeah. Killer deal. So that's going to be a lot of fun over the holidays. Gentlemen, I don't want to get any further into that stuff. I want to dive into this show sheet. We got a lot of cool stuff to talk about.
Let's get it.
Our show tonight, Mike, the show's kind of in your honor tonight, actually, I'll be honest, because as the only American on the show, I wanted to do an ode to American Thanksgiving. I'm calling it an ode because we don't necessarily celebrate up here. So it is also a celebration, but it is an ode because we are paying tribute to all of our friends down in the States. So we're going to talk about these Thursday matchups. We had 3, but now we have 2. But as our a classic artist said, Meatloaf, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So we'll take those 2 matchups on Turkey Day. And as well as the second part of the show, Mike, this was totally your idea. We are going to talk about some players that we're thankful for, and we're going to talk about some players that maybe have us feeling a little bit stankful. So that's going to be a really fun segment. I'm excited to see who you guys decide to drum up on that. Will, be careful.
I'm looking at what we'll put on the sheet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Full troll mode.
Lots
troll mode.
Lots of Easter eggs.
And say, I know you Canadians see what we got going on down here. We are not all as big of idiots as we appear on TV. I just want to throw that out there. We have our fair share, but most people are people like me that just go to work, take care of their family, and maybe do a podcast. I don't know.
100%. That is not in any way our perception of U.S. citizens, buddy. So no need to worry about that. Yeah, but anybody who doesn't know the kind people of the United States, like people like you, Mike, maybe you just enlightened them a little bit. So
I mean, I'll talk to anybody on the internet, but don't talk to me in real life. Then you're crossing the line. I'm just kidding. No, there's a lot of people down here that are nice, like Canadians. And, I guess I don't know. It depends on where you are. I don't know. Whatever. We're too big.
It's everywhere you go, Mike.
Yeah, we love all of our American friends that we come across.
We're okay.
Yeah, we're
love better at destroying things than building things, unfortunately.
All right. So in
games, Mike is one of the best people I know. Porkman, don't lie just because I'm the host. Happy 1-year anniversary to Porkman on Friday. It's the 1-year anniversary of him on the Dynasty Rewind. He's reminded me
wow
13 times in the
last guy, Pork Daddy.
Yeah,
congratulations.
I honestly can say I don't make bacon without thinking about that guy. So I love you, Porkman. I love you. And us Canadians make a lot of bacon. We do.
It's just ham, man.
But it's not. Okay, boys. So I mentioned the Thursday night games. We had 3. The one that got canceled due to COVID is the Baltimore Ravens at Big Willie Styles Pittsburgh Steelers. This was going to be an interesting division matchup, of course, with the 10-0 Steelers. I thought it was going to be an interesting fantasy game to dissect as well. So had to turf all those notes, unfortunately. But Will, let's start with you as the Steelers fan. A lot of Steelers players were coming out on Twitter and social media saying how mad they were about this game being pushed back, because if you don't remember, they also had the Tennessee game from earlier in the season pushed back, and their bye week was accelerated up earlier in the season as well. So what do you think about this, Will? COVID was kind of running rampant in Baltimore this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's certainly unfortunate that it's been delayed. What's really interesting, and we saw the tweets from Ebron coming out and some of the other guys, they're coming off a short week too. I don't think anybody's talking about that, and they're the ones that are pissed off. So that's, this is a team that's on a mission. And I firmly believe, and this just isn't from a Steelers lens, but I think that defensive coordinators have zeroed in on this Baltimore offense and know exactly how to shut it down. Yeah. With that too, I think that the Steelers were just salivating at this matchup, especially that they wouldn't have to face Dobbins and they wouldn't have to face Ingram. And, conspiracy theories aside, Dobbins is the best runner in that game and is the hardest one to defend against, right? So I I think that I would love to say that the Steelers are pissed off because they were just so eager to play the game. But, probably in the back of their minds, they're thinking, yeah, J.K. Dobbins is probably going to be back in this game and he's going to be a problem for us. And we know that this game is going to go to the trenches. It is going to be an extremely tough matchup for both teams. They're going to feel this for the rest of the season.
Totally. Yeah. Always slobber knockers between the Ravens and the Steelers there. And I think you're totally right in that they were mad because the Ravens kind of got around having to play shorthanded because of what was perceived as their mishaps regarding COVID safety precautions or whatever. Right. So I think you're spot on with that. And I think you're also spot on about the Ravens offense that it's just been figured out. The usage in the backfield has been awful, especially from a fantasy lens. Mike, what do you think about that cancellation as well as the potential matchup that we essentially won't see because Baltimore is going to be a drastically different team with those guys healthy?
I think Will's definitely right. For starters, that they've figured out the Baltimore offense, but at the same point in time, if Greg Roman is as good of an offensive mind as he should be able to adjust. And they keep trotting Willie Snead out there, and they signed Des Bryant. Why not Devin Duvernay? Why not Miles Boykin? Why not James Prochet? Why not these guys? You keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. You expect different results. They got to start winning now. That defense is a top tier defense, and their offense is doing them no justice at all. I am kind of bummed that it's, it got moved because, well, I am, but I'm not, because I'm probably going to eat too much and fall asleep, admittedly. To give me something to look forward to on Sunday, because the Birds don't play till Monday night, which is good because then you get to see how inept of a play caller Doug Peterson is on national television.
We're going to talk about that, Mike.
Yes, we
don't
are.
Worry.
But that being said, I think the Steelers are going to win regardless of when they play Ravens. If it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they're going to win the game. And, they can't. I believe you're going to have to look into this. I believe the Ravens play next Thursday as well. So their only option was Sunday to play this game. Because obviously you can't have them play Monday or Tuesday like they did before, and then they would have to reschedule two games. Okay, the FF Aviators said yes, they do. So they would have had to reschedule this game if it was Monday or Tuesday, and then reschedule another game because of it. And then you're looking at whoever they play next. When do they play again? I honestly think what the NFL needs to do right now is work in a break between the end of the regular season and the playoffs. And
wouldn't be bad.
It's there if we need to use it and reschedule some games. And if we don't use it, right? It's like life insurance. You don't want to use it, but you need to have it just in case.
100%. Yeah. And the way COVID's spreading through some of these teams and the tight timelines and stuff, like, it's kind of wild that these guys are getting cleared to play in some of these games with the short turnarounds. So hopefully that can, be quelled a little bit. But it would have been a great game, a nice nightcap for the Thursday nighter. But as somebody who's heavily invested in the Ravens backfield, I was okay with it because I thought that Gus Edwards was going to be a big trap off the waiver wire this week against that Steelers defense.
Seriously, look at his percentages. He's been one of the leading rushers or guys just getting on
per snap.
Per snap. So
it's frustrating.
Here's a question, guys, just from a fantasy lens on this game, because had the pleasure of also analyzing that Monday night game between two of the top defenses between the Rams and the Bucks for fantasy purposes, because we're going to have this as the late game on Sunday. How do you guys see points getting scored in the Steelers Ravens matchup?
I think the Steelers are going to have to pass the ball, and it might be some underneath after the catch stuff, which they are well equipped to do. I'd like to see the running backs get a little more involved in the passing game in Pittsburgh as well. And then as far as Baltimore, I'm not sure, man. Like the Dobbins is going to be there, so he's going to be running the ball. The Steelers are really good against the run. They're not as good against the pass as far as the yardage given up and whatnot. So I think the Ravens will have to get it done through the air, but we have yet to see them have to do that yet. So I think it's going to be the Steelers. Big Ben can dink and dunk it all day to a W. So what do you think, Mikey?
Well, I got a question for you guys. So I don't know how Baltimore runs their offense as far as we know what they do, but do they call in plays from the sidelines like with a card, and do they have Lamar Jackson just look at it and then run it? If so, why don't you insert a wrinkle in your offense where you put RG3 on the field and move Lamar Jackson around? Lamar Jackson is one of the most amazing athletes in the NFL. I think you could all attest to that. Well, I know you hate to say it because you're a Steelers fan.
I'm okay with it.
But it's true. So, when you need to win, you have to do something. And Lamar Jackson is not the greatest passer. He's really not.
Especially this season.
He's admitted it too. But he can be good. They just need to give him some better options or let these young guys. And the problem is it's not like you could really get in extra work after practice because they're really just honing in on everything right now. So it's hard. You almost wonder. I saw something on Twitter today, Will, and I want your thoughts on this. You're a Steelers fan. Let's just say the Steelers go undefeated, run the table all the way and win the Super Bowl. Is there going to be that asterisk by it because it's the COVID year?
No.
Yeah. Shouldn't be.
I mean, I don't
think so either. But
it's the same disadvantage for everybody, right?
Yeah. And two, it's like it's the adage of any given Sunday, right? It's just these guys, there's no other sport that every single athlete that's out there on the field is giving it their all every single game. Even the worst team in the NFL is hands and feet above any other professional sport in terms of what they're putting.
Play.
Hey man, Joe Elite Flacco is giving it his all out there, going deep on every single ball to Perryman and to Mims. So
he's startable too. Flacco is.
Totally, he's elite, man.
Yeah, I don't want to say elite, but he's good.
So with the Steelers, because I did a pretty big analysis on one thing that's really interesting about both of these teams. They've both given up under 20 touchdowns. Like that's like a good game for the Jets, right? What they both had problems doing is with size and speed guys in the red zone. Your boy, Travis Fulgham, burnt them both in a big way. And then I look at, especially the Ravens, where they've got beat by these big speed specimen guys that are, you would consider them, like a fringe tight end. If you really want to kind of look at how they're used, 50% of the Ravens tutters that they've given up are to those guys. So I look at Claypool and Ebron, and I think that they're going to be the go-to. I don't think this is going to be a high total, but they would be guys that I'd be looking to put up points in this game. And then, I know that the Steelers are going to pull out all the stops to hand it to the Ravens this week. And then on the flip side, that the Ravens haven't been funneling action to Andrews all season is an absolute shame. Like it's insane. He's their best receiver. Arguably maybe their best player outside of Lamar. And get this, last week, one of his best fantasy games was his highest snap share ever in the league. They had him on the field for the first time ever for 92% of snaps. So
I didn't see that.
Yeah,
wow.
if they need because O'Leary's out now, obviously Hurst is gone. So if they want to win games, like why aren't you passing to your best asset? And the other thing too, to Mike's point that you're talking about, Greg Roman is this genius, and I agree. I absolutely agree. But why aren't you changing the game plan? This is your championship window. Yeah. You don't want to be like the Chicago Bears and watch it slam in front of your face. And I think that this team is more talented than what the Bears were in terms of like a holistic team than what we saw that Bears team was 3 years ago. So I hope for football that they figure it out. I hope that they don't figure out against the Steelers, but I really do, because the Ravens as a good team, like they were last season, it's good for football, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's pretty fun to watch for sure. I wish Lamar was throwing dimes like he was last year, because that was really nice. Those laser beams deep down in the field to Hollywood and Andrews, like you said, man. Andrews on deep targets. Love Andrews when he gets all those deep targets. But before last week, he only had 5 deep targets all season. Only 3 of them were catchable. He caught 1 coincidentally for a 25-yard touchdown. So he's effective. He's effective, man. All right, boys. So I'm gonna move us into one of the games that's going to happen tomorrow. We're gonna talk about the first game of the day, the Houston Texans at the Detroit Lions. Of course, the Lions are a staple on Thanksgiving down south. They'll host the Houston Texans. The Texans are at home, the Lions are at home. I got my wording in my notes mixed up here, boys. I'm tripping.
The Lions and Cowboys, I think, always play at home on Thanksgiving.
That's right. Sorry. I got apparently my son will not go to sleep right now. Lincoln, go to bed, buddy. Thank you for chiming in on the stream, babe. I appreciate the support. Okay, Houston Texans at Detroit Lions, right, Bauer, after my fumble there. Highest projected point total of the Thanksgiving games at 51.5 points last I checked. Both defenses are bad. Both of them are bottom half defending the pass, and both of them are bottom 3 against the run. So I kind of want to start there on the Texans side in the running back room because it's been brutal, and we pound the table for free Duke. We really want Duke to be free, but I'm not sure he even wants to be free, gentlemen. So what are you thinking let's just start with this game, and then we'll talk a little bit about kind of future stuff as well, gentlemen. So Mike, what do you think about Duke Johnson in this game against the Lions bottom 3 run defense?
I would like to say that he's going to be good because he has to be, but we've seen that not be the case. I also want to take a minute and just say to your listeners, which I said to our listeners as well, beware the narrative that you hear on a lot of other podcasts. Yeah. When Duke Johnson was traded to the Houston Texans, it was okay. I forget who even was there, but okay, so-and-so is there. I think it was still Carlos Hyde. It was Hyde, yeah. And Duke Johnson's the receiving back. Don't listen to that. Just like when Zach Moss got drafted, Zach Moss is their bruiser. Devin Singletary is their receiving back. You have to look at what these offenses do. Houston doesn't really throw to the running back. Buffalo doesn't either. So beware the narrative. Make your own narrative. Use your own judgment. That being said, I think that he's really startable, and I really need him to be in a lot of spots because I had one just kind of a late grab. But I'm disappointed, to be perfectly honest with you. And if anybody wants him and your trade deadlines are not gone and you can get anything for him and you're out of contention, I would move him, just to be perfectly honest with you. And I hope he moves on somewhere and gets a shot to be something more than he's going to be in Houston.
He needs to show something right now. Like, he's getting this shot. He had the big game when DJ went down, but he's had a couple stinkers ever since. So we need it, Duke. We just need to see it. Will, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I've been a big advocate for Duke pretty much since he came into the league from Miami. You know, we saw when he was essentially used as a slot receiver in Cleveland, that was the best that we've ever seen his usage with, and also for fantasy. I mean, he was essentially, he was a bankable kind of 14 points every week, which, hey, we'll take that all day. What Mike was saying about narrative, I also don't buy the narrative of this game. Because we look at what the point total was supposed to be for the Detroit Lions last week, and they absolutely zeroed out and got shut out of that game, which should have been a shootout on paper. I don't buy it between these teams. I don't think that it's going to be a shootout between these teams. I would love to see Duke run with it and, kind of establish himself as what we've always thought he can be. But, the passing has never been there, and that's his calling card, right? He still has been hyper efficient as a runner, though. I don't know where that's went. I haven't watched enough Texans games to be able to speak to how he's using it and where he's getting those touches. So I don't buy the narrative that this is going to be a high point total between these two teams. These two teams are bad, guys. Like, they're not good at football. Like, and two, there's health concerns around Stafford pretty much every week. So what kind of shape does he show up in? No Galladay. So where does that passing game goes? We know Marvin Jones Jr. is a complete boom or bust. Hawkinson seems to be the usage across the Lions just doesn't make sense, whether it's a wide receiver, whether it's a tight end or a running back. Like, it is so sporadic. We can also say the same thing about the Texans, right? Every single week we do not know what to bank on. We do not know, is this going to be a Cooks game? Is this going to be a Fuller game? Or are we going to have Randall Cobb? Or maybe it's Kiki Kuti now that Cobb is out. I don't love this game for fantasy, but if you're in the situation where you've got them, you have to start them. You have to play them. If you're short at wide receiver, I know that you're going to be rolling out Cooks and Fuller, and obviously Hawkinson's a lock at tight end. You're going to roll him out there, and the same for the running backs. What's the status on latest on Swift? Is he coming back for this one?
I think he's trending up. Last I checked, he's trending to play.
Isn't that the most
for.
Lions thing ever that he gets?
It is. Look here, the full injury.
That's okay. I want to see him. Just to whip back to Duke real quick. It's going to be interesting to watch him. I want to see it. I do have to put him in a couple flex spots, as I'm sure a lot of people are, but he's got a lot working against him too. He's had 24 carries in those 2 games without David Johnson. Targets aren't there. There's no red zone work to speak of. A lot of that's going to Deshaun Watson. So I think Duke, much like I was saying about Gus Edwards, is a trap. But I talked about Watson a little bit there, guys. So maybe just a quick kudos to Watson, because there isn't really much to break down for him. You are starting him every week. He is the quarterback 6 right now. He's actually only got 4 weeks where he wasn't a quarterback 1 on a super dysfunctional team. So I hope for his sake, in a dynasty perspective, that they get some good leadership in that organization. But yeah, Will, you talked about the receivers, and that is kind of a juicier one to dig into. These guys are both top 20 receivers since week 5. Cooks is actually top 12. He's number 12, and Fuller is number 17 in that span. Randall Cobb's also not practicing this week. So, Will, you were saying that this game could be a trap. Mike, are you confident starting either of these guys as a confident wide receiver 2 with Fuller and Cooks? Or are you maybe a little bit skeptical on what this game could give us from a fantasy perspective like Will?
I'm a known Will Fuller hater, but he's been proving me wrong this year. And I mean, I guess you got to fire him out. Kenny Stills is also out. I just saw.
Mm-hmm.
So a guy to look out for too, just long term, is Isaiah Coulter. Nice. He came out of Rhode Island. He's actually the tallest wide receiver on the Texans roster. He's a guy that Garrett Price told me about. No, not Kiki Kuti, Porkman. Get out of here with that nonsense.
Look at this greasy take. Porkman says that Kiki Kuti is going to be a wide receiver 2.
Okay. Yeah, everything this guy does is greasy. But yeah, so Isaiah Coulter's a guy that you look out for, because if you're not in contention, you want to get guys on your dynasty roster. Now's the time to do it, right? If you can, if your trade deadline's still open. But I'm gonna fire up Will Fuller. He's probably the only guy that I really have confidence in from the Texans receivers. Sorry. They should be the Oilers, by the way. Throwing that out there.
100%.
Fair point. Yeah. Fair point. See, I'm actually on the opposite end, and I would probably rather start Cooks simply because I think he's being used a lot differently than Will Fuller, and I think Cobb being injured opens up a lot more slot run for Brandon Cooks. He actually, since that big week 5 game that he had, and that's kind of the threshold that I'm using because he did have a big week, obviously. But since that game, he actually has more targets in the slot than does Randall Cobb. And he's produced better on it as well. So that's kind of my hope, is that his role kind of diversifies more and he gets more of that work, which might lead to more volume and potentially more production. I do also believe he is more targeted in the red zone, even though Deshaun Watson vultures a lot of that work as well. I think Cooks is probably a better threat there. So I lean towards Cooks as far as the guy that I want. Will, if you're picking one, who are you picking?
I always revert back to the upside of Fuller and how he can absolutely take the top off a game any given Monday, any given Thursday, I guess in this case, or Sunday on most weeks. I mean, we haven't seen that. I mean, we've seen his usage be all over the field, just more consistency and more of a floor play. But at some point, he's got to go off. So if I had to flip the coin, I'm gonna go Fuller.
Nice. Yeah, he has surprised me too. Mike, I've been on the same banner as you, saying never Will Fuller. I'm not into drafting 4 games a season in the 8th round. You know what I mean? But the guy's been used a little bit differently as well. His average depth of target is down and his volume is up. And so is his actually week-to-week consistency. So it's been kind of cool to see that. I know the moon phases of Fuller are over now, but that'll always be in my heart. Shout out to Jetpack Galileo. But yeah, I think the upside is there for Will Fuller, but I still want to take the safety of Cooks myself. But you never know. Like the Detroit Lions defense isn't anything to write home about by any means. So to talk about those Lions, though, Will, you were talking about a little bit of DeAndre Swift. Coming off that concussion that kind of popped up in the middle of last week. That was a surprise. He's looking primed to play from what I've seen, and it kind of feels like a smash spot against those Houston Texans. You did already mention that you think this game could be one that disappoints, but I mean, he's ranked at running back 30 in Fantasy Pros ECR this week. I think they've got to be hedging based on that injury. He'll probably be higher once he gets the healthy range. For me, I think he's probably like top 15. Where are you sitting as far as DeAndre Swift, just specifically for this game? Like, are you worried about him coming back from that concussion?
As long as Matt Patricia is behind the bench of the Detroit Lions, I am very concerned about every player on the Detroit Lions. DeAndre Swift being front and center. Not worried about the talent whatsoever with DeAndre. It's there. We know it's there. We saw it in college. We're seeing it in glimpses when he's getting the chances. But with Matt Patricia behind the bench here, I mean, when a guy like Kenny Galladay just flat out won't play for the organization or quote unquote is injured, there's some serious problems here. So I'm always going to have issues being fully confident in my Detroit Lions players. Again, it's not a talent thing. It's not a talent thing for Galladay. It's not a talent thing for Swift. It's not a talent thing for Hawkinson either. I'm fully confident in that. It's how they're used. It's the coaching staff, and I never know what to expect out of this team. So even if Swift was fully healthy last week, there's no given that they would continue to give him the snaps that he deserves, right? So against the Texan team was it a concussion? I wasn't exactly sure. I know it was related.
Yeah, it was a concussion.
I know it was related.
I'm like 97% certain.
Okay, I know it was related to being hit too.
Yeah,
hard
they said
practice.
Brain injury. Like a brain injury is kind of what they came out and called it, which was kind of odd. But the assumption I had was that it was a concussion. Yeah, it's I hope he's healthy, because you never really like anything like that. Guys going in and putting his head down into the pile, but
to hit too hard in practice, man. Doesn't that just scream as something Patricia would do? Like some kind of Foxborough North bullshit. Like, give me a break. He's got to go, man. Galladay's gonna force this issue.
Galladay's a free agent, man. He's a free agent. Matt Patricia gets out of there. Kenny Galladay gone.
And hey, if you're a Lions fan and you want Matt Patricia gone, head over to VeridianGlobal.com.
That's true,
right? I think
we have a design.
Made something up.
The shirt with no name.
Yeah, gotta search for it. You'll find it.
It's there. It's there. You got to dig a little bit deeper, but sometimes it's worth digging deeper to get.
The catalog is big over at Veridian Global. Absolutely, it is. So, guys, I wanted to do a quick double either or. So, I just want you to answer with the player that you would prefer. We are going to start with this week, and then I'm going to do a dynasty one, because we do have the Dynasty Rewind host with the most on the show. So we gotta pepper in a little bit of that, even though we are getting close to playoff time. So we do want to give a little bit of that redraft content for people making those playoff pushes. So this week, DeAndre Swift against the Houston Texans, or Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike, start it off.
Oh, thanks for starting with me. If Swift is healthy, I'm going to go with DeAndre.
And Will?
Yeah, thanks for starting us off nice and slow, Trav, and just like easing us into these questions. It's really nice of you to do that. But if DeAndre Swift is healthy and he's fully ready to go, I mean, you talk about trust issues. I've certainly got some trust issues with CEH. So I'm going to go DeAndre, even though it's a Lions skill position, and I hate Patricia, but we're going to go Swift if healthy. That Tampa Bay run defense is unbelievable.
For sure, man. Yeah, I only got a couple options in the this week one, and then the dynasty one's really interesting. So James Conner versus Baltimore. Mike.
James Conner or Swift?
DeAndre Swift this week.
Again, if Swift is healthy, I'm going to go.
Big Willie style.
So even though James Conner's usage and play has been highly suspect and questionable, I still know that the Steelers are going to give him the work in the red zone, and he's going to put up a tutter. So I'm going to go Conner here.
Okay, last one for this week, and then we're going to get into a dynasty one. I just really wanted to zero in on Swift. He's kind of a hot name right now, and I wanted to kind of gauge some of that value for the listeners and also for myself because I play in some leagues with you guys. Zeke versus Washington or DeAndre Swift against the Houston Texans. Washington's defense is really good, but they're much better against the pass actually than they are against the run. Will, let's start with you on this one. Zeke or Swift?
Swift healthy. You just you're hitting a hot topic with me with this trust issue thing. Zeke's another guy. I've got some serious
Dude,
trust issues.
We need to have a session after the show.
Yeah,
if you need to talk, Will.
might be 2 or 3, 4 or 5, 6 hours of trust issues. But
I'm here for you, man. I'm here for you. Okay.
I think my inkling. And I'm certainly not a Dallas Cowboys insider, but Zeke hasn't looked right all season. That could be injury related. Potentially, he's nursing something. Pollard looks good. And if my thinking is if Dallas is going to go either way on the season, whether they're maybe going to go make a push and try to win your division, the NFC least, then why not give more touches to Pollard, right? And if shit's going to go backwards and you're regrouping for 2021, why not see what you have in Pollard as well?
Yeah, Tony Pollard. If you look on PFF, Tony Pollard has the best elusive rating of any running back with at least 50 carries. It's actually wild. The second guy, I'm not going to say his name, so I'm going to talk about him later. His elusive rating is 112. Tony Pollard's elusive rating, 300. It's insane. He's just he's killing it on every carry that he gets. He's avoiding tackle. It's awesome. He's a great player. Shout out to our homie Ty for being on Tony Pollard way early. Still loves him. So you talked a little bit about Kenny Golladay there. Actually, no, boys, I got to get into this dynasty one. My apologies. You guys got me flustered because you guys just are the best. I'm just want to get enthralled in this stuff here. With DeAndre Swift getting all that dynasty buzz, I want to do a dynasty either or, like I said. So, Will, this is going to be a heartstrings one, but I just want, because you guys are busting my balls about this being a 3-hour podcast, I just want you to give me the name, just the name. Okay, guys? DeAndre Swift or J.K. Dobbins in dynasty? Will, go.
Swift.
Okay, Mikey?
Dobbins.
I like it. I think I'm leaning a little bit Swift, but J.K. Dobbins is somebody that I love.
He's so good, man.
Oh, so good. Okay, Will. So DeAndre Swift or James Robinson?
Gotta go Swift.
Nice, Mikey.
I would say Robinson if I could explain why, real quick.
I'll allow it.
All right, just real quick. So if you take James Robinson right now, the Jaguars are not going to be able to move on from him next year. They need so many other positions. So I feel like if he's smart next year, you could probably flip him for more of his worth than you might be able to get to DeAndre Swift if you find the right guy to sell him to. Pure talent, it's DeAndre Swift. If you're talking about the financial aspect of wheeling and dealing in dynasty fantasy football, and James Robinson could be that guy. We're talking about a high return on a low investment.
For sure. You got to capitalize on the hotness.
Exactly.
And it is an absolute, I'm just going to say a little piece on James. It's an absolute pleasure to watch that guy play football.
We do.
Yeah, he has been great.
5-hour podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. The wife says see us at midnight. So I hope you guys are good. Mike, if you got to take a bathroom break, let me know because I'm hunkering down. Um, okay, so next up on the docket, DeAndre Swift or Clyde Edwards-Helaire in Dynasty. Mike.
DeAndre Swift.
Will.
DeAndre Swift.
Damn, boys. I think it's still Clyde by a little bit for me.
Can I say real quick?
Yes, yes, you
It's
can.
not Clyde Edwards-Helaire's team. It is Patrick Mahomes' team.
Yeah.
Andy Reid knows how to use his players enough just to make a guy that you think is going to smash be good, but not a superstar for fantasy. Superstar in NFL, not fantasy. Two different things. That's why.
Totally. I think the way he uses his backfields is evolving a little bit.
Sure.
But okay. Next up on the docket, Jonathan Taylor. Will.
Oh God, you're just all my boys.
Me too, buddy.
Is just to caveat this a little bit with all of these rookies, what's super interesting is that rookies are usually like the locked and loaded play when we're drafting, right? That's why we invest so much draft capital in them, because we expect them to produce in year one. Well, the narrative in 2020 is almost the complete opposite of that, where we're seeing kind of instant production from the wide receiver position, and not just one, and the usage and just the production from the running back position for almost all of these guys, minus James Robinson, actually, has been a complete reverse of what we've been accustomed to. And I guess maybe we've been spoiled for that. So with that roundabout, gave me time to think about my answer. Gotta love JT, man. Like, you watched him. I didn't get to watch the game last week, but 2 weeks ago when he was on like super limited snap share and they kept handing Wilkes the ball, even though he continued to fumble. I mean, this kid can absolutely destroy defenders. And I think it's just a matter of time before he blows up. I'm still super high on JT, but between him and Swift, it is razor thin for me.
Mike.
The correct answer is LaMichael Pirine, but I'll take Jonathan Taylor.
You heard it here first, and this is on the record. All right.
I love that. Sorry, just had to.
Yeah, that's fair. That's all of the little Michael Pirine love that's going to happen on this pod, buddy.
Did anybody else get some like weird satisfaction for in season long dropping LaMichael and picking up Samaje this week? Anybody?
I did not. No, I'm
the only
not on either.
Person. Okay. All right, we'll just stop talking about it.
Okay, yeah, no more Pirine talk. Keep your guys' Pirines to yourselves, okay? Okay, we're done with the either or. We're done with it. It's good. I think DeAndre Swift is.
Jeez, you couldn't have eased us into it. Like, just
those are tough. No. You want one-word answers on those. It's like, well, it's got to be this guy because of blah blah blah. I can't.
I was just busting your guys' balls for busting my balls about having long shows.
Wow. Okay.
That's one of your endearing qualities. So
thank you, Mike. I appreciate that, buddy. Okay, let's move into the passing game. It's kind of tough to talk about this Lions passing game right now. Kenny Golladay, like you said, Will, is out. Danny Amendola is out as well. So Marv Jones has been, producing pretty decently over the past little while with Kenny Golladay out, even maybe a little bit spotty here and there. But I think Marvin Jones, we're probably all starting him as a wide receiver 3 on our rosters. What do you guys think about that? Like, is he somebody that you're happy with against this Houston Texans defense with, I might add, Matt Stafford still getting healthier off of that thumb injury that he had? Will, how about you? What are you thinking about Marv?
Geez, I mean, if I have to use him, I'm gonna roll him out. I mean, just so much you feel bad for Stafford. You look at these numbers for Marvin Jones, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's, the Detroit passing game is middling, right? It's like 16th in total volume, but like where are these balls going to if it's not to Marvin Jones Jr.? He got 6 targets last game. And he was on the field the entire time.
Like, so did Jamal Agnew. Jamal Agnew also had 6 targets last week.
Was a-
What kind of game planning is this? Like,
Jamal Agnew, I'm pretty sure used to be a safety for the record. Like, I'm fairly certain that he used to play safety.
this is also, if Amendola was healthy, he would command more targets than Marvin Jones Jr., who's their best receiver. Like, I'm not going to try to get into into Matt Patricia's mindset. I would just like I've said before, I'd rather not deal with it and just avoid the situation than try to justify his erratic coaching behavior.
Hey, Will, can I just ask Will a question real quick? Is that a copy machine in the back corner of your room there?
Yeah, it is.
Are you broadcasting from a Kinko's in Toronto? I mean,
hey man, times are tough. Any penny that we can make up here in the Great White North, buddy, we're doing it.
Yeah,
out of hustle. So listen, I have some show sheets I need correlated. I'll just send them up to you, and then you can get them back to me in a jiff. How's that sound?
No problem, man. The exchange rate is great right now too, so it's a great deal for you.
Let's do it. Sorry, I had to ask. I saw it. What the hell is that?
That's exactly
The Office. That is The Office. That's where Willie makes his magic.
That's right.
How are you feeling about Marv, Mike? Do you think you'd be rocking him in a wide receiver 3 spot if you had to start 3 wide receivers?
I think I'm starting Marvin Hall right now. He's out there, as Porkman loves when I say he out there, the kids say, but he's been getting not as many targets, but the production's been there for sure. I don't have the stats right in front of me. I don't know how he was last week, but I know a couple weeks ago he smashed pretty much. So I just, Porkman also put in the comments Quintez Cephas. He's a guy that we all liked a lot.
Yeah, he out there for sure.
The intern's gonna be the courier. That's great. He's the closest to Canada, so that works.
Perfect.
Can't say that. That's
what happened. What happened in that Carolina game last week? Hall got 3 targets.
It was ugly. I don't know. I didn't watch the full game back.
It's like, are you really trusting any pass catchers on this Detroit offense right now?
Not fully, no. If Kenny Galladay's in there, I'm down to start him as hopefully a wide receiver 2, just as he eases back from this injury, because it's he's been out a lot this season. He's been killing a lot of teams who drafted him as like a top 10 wide receiver. So, but if he's in there, I definitely trust him. Marvin Jones is a little sketchier. He's only had 2 weeks all season where he wasn't a wide receiver 3 or worse. So from week to week, he's super inconsistent, even if he does have a couple of big games. So I'm just like you guys. I'm kind of out here. TJ Hawkinson, I really want. He's a locked and loaded top 5 tight end, probably in redraft and dynasty. As Porkman mentioned for us there. Thanks, buddy. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting. I'm not really starting any of these guys just because it's pretty ugly to see what that distribution of targets is going to look like. I just hope they all go to DeAndre Swift is kind of where I hope they all go to. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good wrap on that Houston and Detroit game, fellas. You got any additions?
Let's just hope Patricia is gone at the end.
Well, this
halftime,
I can hear in your voice that this game like hurts your soul to even think about, hey?
It does. It is such an incredible trap game in so many different regards. I fell for full transparency, I fell for the Carolina narrative last week. And dude, for all intents and purposes, Detroit should have walked all over that team.
Yeah. Totally, man. Carolina with PJ Walker. It's crazy. The Temple connection though, right? That Temple connection with Matty Rule.
Dude, it's real.
And Robbie Anderson.
I've been talking about it. I've been talking about the Temple South narrative all off season. It's a real thing, guys. How did Walker look?
I didn't watch it. I haven't watched that one back yet just because it looked like a stinker. So when I was prioritizing the games I was going to watch back, that was not one of them.
It wasn't terrible, but he didn't hit like I thought he would. So
he does have some nice tools as far as fantasy production with the rushing that he can provide. But yeah, that was an ugly one. And hopefully it's not an ugly one to start out Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving slate, especially after we already lost one game. I hope that game does have. I hope you're wrong, but I will give you props if you hit that, because it looks like it could be a game where points are scored. But I definitely like that call on your end too, because there's going to be some people who are sucked into some production here that doesn't happen. So guys, before I get into the second matchup of the night, I just want to talk about one of our sponsors, Trophy Smack. If you want to make your fantasy league more than just a fantasy, you need Trophy Smack. They got trophies, belts, rings, losers trophies, draft boards. You can take your team to the next level with Trophy Smack, actually. As part of our partnership, you can go to their website, trophysmack.com. You can find the perfect trophy or belt. And with the purchase of that trophy or belt, you will get a free championship ring, which is a $60 value. So awesome deal there. Will, you can attest to the quality of the trophies over there. You've got one for the Canadian National Best Ball Champions League winner. I've seen pictures of that and it looks absolutely mint. So yeah, just thanks to Matt and the gang over there, because we love the partnership. And again, that's trophysmack.com and our promo code is TNFF.
Yeah,
fire away on that trophy. Yeah,
just to jump in, Trav. I mean, I love talking to you guys because you're super passionate about what you do. Mike, you're super passionate about the rewind and what you've built there. Trav, you are as well with True North, and I love that. And like with the guys and girls at Trophy Smack, you get that same kind of feeling. Like they're in on every single trophy. They get super excited when they're designing and putting things together. So they are just another brand that I love to support, and I am so incredibly pumped to get my hands on the Canadian National Best Ball Champions League trophy. It's going to be awesome. We'll be dropping some photos as soon as that hits us.
Yeah, man, it's pretty cool. I'm super excited to get some for my leagues coming up in this off season. I've got one particular home league that I got a belt lined up for, and I'm going to walk into our live draft like Macho Man Randy Savage with it over my belt. I'm probably going to have like some cream packages, be like the cream, Mean Gene rises to the top. So I'm going to be watching some Macho Man videos to make sure I can rub it in real good. And that will be thanks to Trophy Smack, because I'd look like an idiot if I was just doing Macho Man Randy Savage and didn't have the gold on my shoulder. So
you got to be shirtless as well.
Yeah, greased up, all greased up, spray tanned. Yeah, neon colors. Yeah, that era of wrestling was golden. Yeah. So anyway, the moral of that story was thank you to Trophy Smack for allowing us to throw our wins in our league mates' faces. It's fantastic. So
yeah.
They have some great stuff. I was checking that website out the other day. They have some awesome stuff on there too, man.
Yeah, the belts are sweet. The rings are sweet. So many different designs of trophies that you can do. It's not just one trophy. You can get like a Lombardi replica. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Porkman said he heard some grease. You damn right you did, buddy. Okay, guys. So the next matchup for the Thursday slate is the Washington football team at the Dallas Cowboys. Mike, as Birds fans, this is an in-division game for us. So if both teams could lose, that would be great, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, we don't want them to tie, because then that would hurt our chances right now, to be honest with you.
Oh, man.
What do you cheer for? You don't just whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. So yeah, the football team comes in fresh off their third win over the Bengals, as do the Cowboys with their third win over Minnesota. Both of them are hot on the heels of those division leading Philadelphia Eagles. But let's start in Washington, guys, because I don't really want to talk about the Eagles just yet. They're going up against the Cowboys' second worst run defense on the season so far. The Cowboys have actually been better numbers wise against the pass than the perception is, but they still can be had in the air. So guys, we're starting our Antonio Gibsons. I think we're going to get to him in a second, and we're going to talk a little bit of dynasty lens for him, because I think he's probably a locked-in running back too that you got for like a third or fourth round rookie pick, which is fantastic. Terry McLaurin is also a clear wide receiver one, and he has been unreal. He's the wide receiver 9 right now. So Will, just let's touch on Terry McLaurin, because I don't want to do him an injustice there. Would you say at first glance, without actually doing the math on it, he would be a top 10 dynasty wide receiver for you right now?
Easily. I would slide him. He is just outside the top 5 for me.
Whew, I like that. I think he's got that ceiling though, right? And he's looked good with all the quarterbacks they've had in this season.
And
I'm actually happy that we got Alex Smith in there right now.
Me too.
Yeah, it's
have we seen his? We haven't seen his ceiling this year. We saw it in a few games last year, right? That he can absolutely take the top off a game and dominate and ball out over 30 points. We haven't seen it this season, but the floor to me has WR1 written all over it. And you look at that, I mean, what, 3 different quarterbacks and hasn't missed a beat with any of them. Terry McLaurin is knocking on the door of that top 5 dynasty wide receiver group for me.
Mike, what about you, my man? Are you super high on Terry McLaurin?
Love Terry McLaurin. It's fantastic. Yeah, tried to get him in a bunch of spots and rookie drafts, and it just didn't work out. You know how it goes. He's just not there, or you don't want to take a guy too early, even though, hey, you want your guy, get your guy. You know, if you don't have the picks and you have to pay a half a round too high for somebody, but you're not regretting it 2 or 3 years from now, just do it.
Yeah.
You know
definitely. I mean? And he was like the epitome of that, right? The guy's 3rd in receiving yards in the league with all those quarterbacks, like we mentioned, 6th in targets, 11th in receptions, top 10 air yards, all sorts of that stuff. Points per game, he's top 10. I think he even has room for positive regression in the touchdown department. He's outside the top 30 where that is concerned. So, just big ups to Terry McLaurin for transcending a bad situation. And hopefully we can see Riverboat Ron start to move that team into a good situation, which it looks like they're kind of on a path for, because there's at least some relevancy to McLaurin and Gibson for fantasy football. And I think Alex Smith is a nice little facilitator for that offense.
Yeah, I think that the Washington football team, Ron Rivera, has put his blueprint in place there. What he was able to do with Carolina, we saw that team quickly rise to be a contender and a relevant team when he was behind the helm. And it's actually refreshing. I mean, a bunch of horrible shit has happened in Washington. Let's be absolutely clear about that. But Rivera looks like he has been given the authority to do what needs to be done here, both on the field and culturally. So that's a positive thing. Having Washington as a relevant team might not be good for you Eagles, but I think it's good for the league. And also, when was the last time that Washington players were relevant for fantasy?
It's great.
Seriously,
it's nice to have those options, man. And like
maybe when RG3 was there in his rookie year,
Alfred Morris, yeah,
Alfred
Big Fred
re-emerging a couple weeks ago with the Giants.
Crazy,
so weird, man.
And then Alex Collins with the Seahawks a couple weeks ago. It's like,
what is it? 2017 again?
Yeah, what is happening right now? Seriously, like we got in our DeLorean and went back a few years. Crazy.
That's awesome, fellas. So, I want to get back to Antonio Gibson because a lot of people love him. I wasn't super on him coming into this season. I thought he might have one of those profiles where a team might not know how to use him, and I didn't have that confidence in Washington to be the team that could. But we have seen them pretty much just use him as a traditional running back, which has been really, really nice to see because he's got the size for it. So I just want to start right off the hop. Antonio is running back what in Dynasty? So would you say he's a top 12 Dynasty running back, Mike?
I feel like he's a really high-end RB2 for his career. And, Nate's putting in the chat here, Antonio Gibson, top PPR sophomore running back in 2021 if he gets those McKissick targets. So if they have a guy like J.D. McKissick there, it's going to be value, which sucks because we've talked about it on our show a lot. Receiving is Antonio Gibson's strong point. Handing him the ball. I don't understand why coaches draft these players and they know that they have a skill set that they excel at, and they're like, "You're a great receiver, great, pound it between the tackles."
Well, you know what I think? I think this has been good. I think this has actually been good because sure JD McKissic has been using a lot of that passing work, and he's one of the top 5 running backs in slot usage across the entire league, which is wild. But we know that this team can give that role to a running back, and we also know that they're willing to trust Antonio Gibson as a true running back, right? So just like Nate says there, I think he can get those McKissic targets. If they decide to use him a little more in that fashion, if McKissic goes after this season, we know that there is plenty of role there for that running back. So that's kind of what's positive for me, especially with that potential return on what you might have paid for him. So that's kind of where I sit with Antonio Gibson, is that like the future role could expand. We've seen them do it with 2 guys. If we can see that condense even 25 to 50% of JD McKissic's role into Antonio Gibson's role, it's going to be awesome because, Gibson is great in the passing game, and he's shown a lot of talent. I wish I had more of him. I do have him as my running back 20 in Dynasty right now. Will, where are you sitting on old Gibby?
I love Gibby, man. So it's such a polarizing player in the offseason. I've never seen anything quite like it, where you had your truthers and you had your haters. And then once he actually started playing real football, come the start of the season, everybody shut up, which is just bizarre. Both the truthers and the haters. And all this guy has done since he has, been in his role with the Washington football team is produce. And everybody's been silent. So you've still been able to kind of acquire him in Dynasty without an arm and a leg. I think that I still think that it's a buy low opportunity here, because what's really interesting about Gibson is he's almost like reverse engineering his role. And what we typically see from rookies, we see them kind of play to their strengths. Like you would think that Gibson would be more active. He was essentially a wide receiver at Memphis, right? With very, very limited in terms of the run game. And we haven't seen any of that. And what is absolutely insane, how many touchdowns did he score in college? Rushing touchdowns? Was it 1 or was it?
I think so. He had 33 carries and 77 touches overall in college, I believe. I don't know the touchdown number though.
Look at his ability to put the ball in the red zone on the ground. Like
so good this year.
It is insane. Everybody has been all over CH, and maybe there's some foundation to being over them that he hasn't been able to kind of get that, even though he's been given the opportunity at the goal line. Gibson has that already. Every single game. He is pounding the rock. And when you look at it from an opportunity basis, it's not like Washington's in the end zone a ton. I mean, he's number 18 in red zone snaps. So he has a nose for the goal line. So when you have that as his base, as Trav, to what you were saying, and like everybody's talking, JD McKissic is PPR relative. He sucks, guys. He absolutely sucks. Like
he's saved my ass in a couple spots, to be honest with you,
sure,
but I'm with you.
That's fine. Fantasy, cool. It doesn't matter. It's about volume and targets. But he is not. He's not good. So what's the hold up on Gibson giving him that action? I'm not sure. Again, I can't get into the psychology of Ron Rivera and how they're playing it, but Gibson has seen over 50% snap share. I think it's in like 2 games.
Yeah, totally.
2 games. Mikey, sorry, I know that you're on to something there.
Yeah, you wanted he scored 4 rushing touchdowns in his Memphis career and 12 receiving touchdowns.
Well, just to piggyback on that, he's got 9 carries inside the 5-yard line this year, already has 5 touchdowns. So he's got more touchdowns on his carries inside the 5 than he did in all of his college career. More than 50% of his carries inside of the 5 are pay dirt. 24 red zone carries in total, 8 touchdowns just rushing on that. So
he's got a nose. He's got a nose.
Yeah.
He's got a nose.
He's got room to grow too. So I think it's really exciting. And this is kind of one of those guys that you might be willing to buy even at this hefty price that he's probably giving you, because he's looking like a 3-down back 100%. And it's just about him getting that role. And he's got the talent profile to take that shot, in my opinion. But Let's move over to the Plowboys, fellas. No, we'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys. We got a couple of Cowboys fans on the True North team, so we appreciate them, even if I secretly love to chirp them. But I'm not really in that position right now with how the Eagles are playing. So looking at the Washington football team, obviously we know that this Cowboys offense is ideally getting somewhat back on track with Andy Dalton back in the fold. I talked about the Cowboys defense earlier. The football team is really good against the pass this season. They've given up the fewest receiving yards, fourth fewest yards per attempt, I believe. And their run defense is middle of the pack. But I think the players within probably are better than the sum of those stats. But yeah, the Cowboys offense with Andy Dalton back, he got that W against the Vikings. So boys, I want to talk, like, is this guy back in the conversation as like a weekly quarterback 2 on our Superflex teams? He was the quarterback 13 last week against the Vikings. But that could go either way from week to week for the Red Rifle. So Mike, what do you think about Andy Dalton? I know you play a lot of Superflex as well. Would you say he's somebody that you're going to be confidently setting into that quarterback 2 spot to give you a floor of like 12 to 14 kind of thing?
Sure. When you consider that you're rolling Joe Flacco out, Brandon Allen's going to be the starting quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Mike Glennon is starting for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You really could do worse.
Yeah, it's bad.
And if their line gets a little bit better, he has weapons. He really does. Mm-hmm. Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Zeke, although he hasn't looked like himself, he has to be accounted for on every play. He still does. Tony Pollard's looked fantastic. I know you said Ty was a big Tony Pollard guy. I was as well. And I hated when he went to Dallas, not because I hate the Cowboys, which I do. Sorry. Cowboys, because I just figured, I'd like to see him go somewhere where he has a chance to be a starting running back. He's not going to get that in Dallas, just like Alexander Madison is not going to get that in Minnesota. He's just not. By the way, I'd love to gift Canada the state of Minnesota.
We would take it.
Go ahead.
They're honorary. They're honorary.
Go ahead, grab it up. Take Wisconsin. But there's, as you have here, Red Rockets straight to a division title. It could happen, man. Seriously. Yeah. Also, NFL, let's put something into the rule book. If you have a team or a division where a team wins the division 2 games under 500, no teams from that division should qualify for the playoffs. Just
2 games is pretty generous, Mike. You're being awfully generous with 2 games.
One game under is 7-9, right? So 2 games would be 6-10. So it could happen in the NFC East this year. So
that's so gross.
I kind of hope it does.
That is disgusting. I will make a disclaimer here that we are talking super flex, because I think we can all agree that if you're in a 1 quarterback league, you should not be starting Andy Dalton if you want a chance at going to the title. How
big?
What's that?
If it's like a 16 team league,
fair,
on how you are with injuries and stuff like that, most 16 teamers are full IDP, so you might have to zig when everybody else zags, and in that case, you could do worse. So, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we've got the revenge game narrative coming very soon, right? He's got the Bengals coming.
He's got the Bengals.
Yeah, but is it really because Burrow's hurt? So it's like it's not the guy that took the job anymore.
No, organizational revenge.
Okay,
organizational revenge. Yeah,
take that then.
Yeah, they traded him in for the new toy, and he wants to show them that he's still got it.
That is everyone that spent all that waiver wire money on Ryan Finley.
Oh, man.
Brandon Allen will start for the Cincinnati Bengals this week.
Thanks, Taylor. Thanks,
yeah. Zach Taylor's fucking all of us this season, but I digress, because that'll make us a 3-hour pod if we started getting into that, boys. But we're not going to.
Midnight, Sabrina.
Yeah. Will, I want to get into the wide receiver talk, and you're going to kick us off here. I think we can all agree that the wide receiver core here is incredible. On the season, CD and Amari are top 24 wide receivers, and poor Michael Gallup is the wide receiver 56. Crazy. It feels like a crapshoot from week to week. Do you feel the same? And if you're picking one just for this game specifically, do you think one produces much more than the other, or is it going to be a bit ugly?
It's interesting. See, before last week, I was higher on Amari just because we had such a limited sample size between Dalton and that wide receiver core. No doubt that wide receiver core is extremely talented. Any one of those three guys can go absolutely off. But we saw that last week that it wasn't an Amari week. It went to CD, which when Dalton kind of took over, I thought that would be the case. New quarterback, targeting the slot, go with the yak ability, kind of, check it down for Andy. But we actually saw, and again, it's a very limited sample size, that Amari was his go-to target. They had good chemistry. The only TD that Dalton had thrown up until last week was to Amari. But I really feel that it's going to be either one of these guys. I think that Gallup is just cooked on the season. The other piece that we have to talk about here is Dalton Schultz as well. We've seen Dalton make tight ends relevant. We talk about the barnyard dog and Gary Barnidge. We talk about Tyler Eifert and even CJ Uzomah. We've seen all of these kind of no disrespect to any of them because they're, they are all, Chev will love to hear this. They're all hyper athletic tight ends, which I absolutely love. But Dalton has made them relevant, and Schultz has been. I'm not kidding you. He's been good. He's tight end 10 on the year, guys.
Yeah, man.
And I only see that continuing. But in terms of the Amari CD debate, I think it's going to be a coin flip every single week, and you got to kind of take the risk of, hey, they might put up 20 for me, or they might put up 10.
Yeah, 100%, man. And I want it to be CD, but I don't think I know who it's going to be from week to week. It looked actually when Dalton first came in that Gallup was going to start getting some work as well. So, like you said, it's really a coin toss. Mike, where are you sitting there? I want you to rank those three for the rest of the season on who you would rather have on roster.
Thanks, Trav.
You're welcome, man. You are welcome.
I would go Amari Cooper begrudgingly. Then I'm going to go CD and Gallup. As much as I hate to say Gallup third, it's just so inconsistent. And I hate to be the guy. I kind of hope he moves on just so that he can go somewhere and get a shot to be a one, because I think he could be. I really do.
Totally. I agree with you, man. But I agree with you. That's actually,
and I can't fault the Cowboys for drafting CeeDee Lamb. Generational talent for sure. So, Porkman's disagreeing with you. Don't you dare disagree with the host, Porkman. Of course.
He might argue that you're not the host tonight, Bauer.
Right,
Sorry.
Don't argue with your host.
I love you both. Just to kind of show that spread, boys, I'm looking at the red zone targets here. Will, you were spot on. Dalton Schultz leads the team with 8 red zone targets. He has converted those into 4 tutters, which has definitely helped his standing. CeeDee Lamb has 7. Zeke has 6. Amari has 6. Michael Gallup has 4. Cedric Wilson has 6. So a lot of passing volume, but a lot of guys that it's going to. I don't know.
Another thing, and I needed to dig this up just in terms of Dalton's kind of favorite toy. It was again Amari last week, even though CD had that amazing touchdown. Amari out targeted him 7-4, guys. So this. Yeah, something to monitor. I'm not saying that Amari is the go-to guy, but again, that sample size continues to grow. And from what we've seen so far, Amari is the clear leader in terms of target. I'm just, I also kind of correlate back to his Bengals time. He had 2 similar kind of guys, right? Like in Boyd and AJ Green. Could AJ Green kind of Amari? And then I think that CD is more talented than Boyd, but that slot usage kind of yak guy. So maybe both are viable, but rest in
Yeah.
peace, Gallup.
Well, I think you're probably in a position where you probably need to rely on CD Lamb, even if you might want to find a better option, just because the upside's so big. He's going to get those red zone looks like we saw last week. So maybe he expands on that role. I think I go Amari, CD, then Gallup for the rest of the season, but I could CD out. I could see CD outproduce Amari just due to some of that red zone work and maybe the touchdown upside that he could potentially get. So it's been an interesting split. I wish Dak was still in there because I bet you all three of these guys would be viable, man. And it would just be fantasy glory coming out of the Dallas offense, as much as that hurts me to say. So a little bit on Amari there too, Will. Like, do you think he would slide in as a wide receiver 1 still for Dynasty? Because obviously CD Lamb is a wide receiver 1 for Dynasty. Amari is probably right on that cusp a little bit, but I'm curious to see what you think, whether he's in there or if you think that he's going to fade off a little bit, because he's still been getting that volume, like you said, 8th in targets, 8th in receptions, top 15 in receiving yards and yak. So there's some talent there still. What are you thinking about his opportunity?
I think that there's a couple different ways to look at Amari. I think that there's the real on-field talent, which is undeniable and certainly a game changer. I think that he is certainly a WR1, but the perception of dynasty players is that he is unreliable and pretty much he's unrosterable. So what does that mean for fantasy? I think that he is a potential buy low in dynasty pretty much across the board because of that perception. If he comes back, if Dak comes back healthy next year, and again, that was a pretty serious injury, so we'll see what happens. But a full season of Amari and Dak, I love the opportunity to buy Amari Cooper low because the perception is that he is a headache. And he's a boomer bust. Whether that is reality or not, it doesn't really matter because that's a perception that people have. So he, in terms of production this season, he is probably like WR20 over WR20, right? I would.
He's definitely inside the top 20. 1 second, please stand by. But anyway, I think he's probably right around the top 15. So he's producing. I have him inside probably my top 20. I don't know exactly what it is offhand. I don't have them in front of me, but I think Amari's going to be a nice play. And just to kind of finish off this Dallas wide receiver core, Mike, you were saying that you felt awful for Michael Gallup with the situation because obviously they had to draft CD Lamb with how good he is at the 17th overall pick. So Michael Gallup, just real quick, where would you like to see a landing spot for him? Because I think it's pretty clear that he's the odd man out and probably won't be there next year. What kind of landing spot would you like to see for him?
It's really hard to say. Houston, he could stay in the state and go to Houston.
And
he's going to be one of the wide receivers on the team. Obviously, Philadelphia always needs a wide receiver, so we can, but a place like New England would be good too. They don't have a lot going on, really. Also, what about in Buffalo on the other side of Stephon Diggs?
Interesting. So Smokey Brown out of the picture, you're thinking?
I don't know.
Is contract up?
I thought he signed a 2-year deal before last year. That's what
I think it is. Yeah, I think he's in a contract year. So that's an interesting one. Will, you got any?
I love Buffalo. Whenever there's a skilled wide receiver that's in potentially at odds with their team, you'll always go to the Patriots. Green Bay and Gallup again.
Good one.
Another team that we always tie to elite wide receiver. I think that his skill set would match and mesh nicely with Devontae there. The Eagles honestly were the first team that kind of came to my mind. I think that he'd fit really well in there. I mean, we don't really. It's gonna be tough how kind of everything shakes out for the Eagles next year. What do you have in Fulgham? How does Rager progress? And Gallup I think would fit well there. So that's kind of my hit list. But
nice little dig at the Cowboys there too.
Always, I know how you guys are in that division, and I love it. And yeah, absolutely. If you can get one up, and Gallup too, I'm sure that he would love that, right? I think that he knows that he has the ability to be a wide receiver one. We've seen it in glimpses, and I think that he'd love the opportunity to be able to show that. And if it just so happened to stick it to the Cowboys,
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, check this one out, guys. You guys nailed all the ones that I had listed. The Arizona Cardinals. I think that would be a thing of beauty for fantasy football. We can get Christian Kirk's ass out of there. I don't care. Get Michael Gallup in there. Yeah, he's been productive and he's been used a lot differently, and I've dogged him quite a bit, and he's proven me wrong to an extent. There's still a lot of inconsistencies there, and I think Michael Gallup on the other side of DeAndre Hopkins, with them running so many 4 wide receiver sets, there's probably room for all 3 of those guys to eat to some extent. But Larry's probably going to be around till the end of the time too, so he's probably going to throw a wrench in all those plans, I'm sure.
Oh, good.
So since we're now delving into fantasy land, my dream wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. I love Larry Legend, but he's got to ride into the sunset sometime.
I know who you're going to say.
I think of Juju.
Yeah.
In Arizona.
That'd be sweet.
That
would be sweet.
I would like that.
Absolutely off the charts.
Totally.
Him and Kyler. I mean, I love Juju. Juju is, can I call him, like, he is probably the most underrated
I think you're right.
in the league. Like,
he is elite talented.
He is, as a football player. Yeah. I mean, what he does in the blocking game and all of that, like, people don't talk about that. And I'm going to be sad when he leaves the Steelers at the end of the season, because that's going to happen. But if we're talking about dream dates in Arizona, and it would have to be Juju for me. But
nice. And speaking of dream dates, guys, I'm going to get in and say a word from our sponsor in just a second, but I just want to give a mid-show thanks to the 2 of you for jumping on. So yeah, this is like a little dream date for old T-Rav. It's fun getting the boys on here, two of my closest buddies in fantasy football. So this has been great.
Happy to be here, man. Love you guys, seriously.
Wonderful.
I get so pumped up after these things. It reminds me of like when I used to play hockey when I was younger. You just, you're so pumped from the game that you can't sleep. I know that, being able to jam with you guys is going to be that case tonight. Not that I know that.
That's the case for me too, Will. I'm always in the chat after, like, what's going on, boys? How's it going, boys? What's up? So I get fired up after a pod too. I call it like the post-pod ampness or whatever. But yeah, real quick, guys, we're going to get into a segment of I Got 5 on it with Monkey Knife Fight. Real quick, I just want to say a word for our gracious sponsor. If you want the best DFS player prop games in the industry, jump onto Monkey Knife Fight. Monkey Knife Fight is sweeping the nation right now, and we at True North are proud to be doing it along with them. They've got games for all sports and skill levels that are sure to keep you on the edge of your seat, with endless opportunity to watch your winnings pile up. With our promo code TNFF, Monkey Knife Fight will match your first deposit up to $50. So sign up now with our promo code, and you can get up to $50 of free money to start making some bank. Again, that's monkeyknifefight.com, and the promo code is TNFF at your first deposit to start playing today. And we are back on the show that I have affectionately coined the Bauer Hour, due to one of my guests down there, Mike Bauer.
We're going on hour 2. Who made that video, by the way?
That would be a big shout out to Dan Made Graphics. All this graphic work that you see on the YouTube channel is from Dan Made. I love the entire team, but Dan Made is one of our MVPs, along with OG Joe, our article editor. Those two comprise the lead members of Team Analog on the team, and we love you, fellas. So thanks for everything you guys do for us.
The best. None of this would be possible without those guys.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I appreciate you boys more than you will ever know. So let's get into it, boys. We're going to take, I have decided that we're going to do 2 little ones here.
Okay.
Will, I'm not doing anything crazy. I know you always try and talk me out of the jetpack smashes and all those wild 8-person parlays that I get into.
I just want you to win. Okay? I just want you to win.
Buddy, I just want me to win too. Trust me. Okay, so we are going to get into the Houston and Detroit game. And guys, I want to switch it up a little bit. I always do the more or less game. I want to go over to rapid fire. I saw these lines here, and I thought it was pretty interesting to see these ones. So what rapid fire is it pits two players from the same position in that matchup against each other. And usually there will be a bonus given to one of those players, and you've got to decide who's going to get the most of whichever stat the line is on. So we're starting with passing yards and the quarterback. So Deshaun Watson or Matthew Stafford, who's going to get more passing yards? And the caveat to this one, gentlemen, is they are giving 25.5 passing yards to Matt Stafford. So do you guys think that Deshaun Watson is going to outpass him by 25 yards, or will Matt Stafford keep it within or better than Deshaun Watson? We'll just go down the video screens here. Well, what do you think?
I'm going Deshaun here. I mean, we don't know how healthy Stafford is. We don't know what the game plan is. I'm going Deshaun here. He's got better weapons. He's got healthy wide receivers, and he's, in Cooks and Fuller, he's got guys that can absolutely blow up a game and stretch the field.
Yeah, 100%. Mike, where are you sitting on that one, dude?
I'm going to go with Watson as well, mostly because Jeff Okudah is out. I think he's got a shoulder injury, so that's going to definitely hamper the Detroit secondary. So, yeah, I'm taking Watson over Stafford.
Yeah, for sure. I'm in the same boat, and it's just due to that injury and the lack of weapons there. Kenny G and Amendola are down, and those guys get targets and big plays. So you're just relying on Marv and DeAndre Swift coming off an injury. So I think that's cool, and that's part of why I wanted to get into this rapid fire one, because A, we don't play a ton of them on the show, and B, because it's really fun to get in here and watch some of these lines shifting throughout the week. That's kind of a fun thing we do in the True North chat is, we'll start looking on a Tuesday and we'll be throwing lines out at each other and checking it out and seeing how they fluctuate throughout the week. So just some added fun to Monkey Knife Fight, aside from, being on the edge of your seat for a matchup you might not normally care about on the game slate. You can just have those added wrinkles of fun with Monkey Knife Fight. So it's kind of a blast. And as you can see, if you're watching, there's a ton of games up here. Will's favorite here is the touchdown dance. Tons and tons of fun. So the next line here is receiving yards, and it pits teammates against each other. Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks is being given 5.5 receiving yards. So that's a pretty close line. And I think it's fair because these guys have been producing fairly similarly. Mike, let's start with you on this one. Do you think Will Fuller will outproduce Brandon Cooks by 5.5, or is Cooks going to keep it within?
Well, I guess I got to stick with Will Fuller because I said to fire him up before, but there's always that possibility. This is just yards, correct?
100%. Yeah.
So there's always that possibility that Will Fuller gets more yards, but Brandon Cooks gets more fantasy points.
Yeah.
You guys understand how it works?
Double the receptions. Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. So Will Fuller's a big play guy. That's who I'm going with.
All righty. Big Willie style.
Yeah, I've already kind of put my chips on Will Fuller just to outproduce Cooks in this one. It looks like he'll be lined up against Trufant, who has been, what's the polite way to put it, owned this season. So you gotta go Fuller. And I don't know what the moon cycles are over, but I still feel that we've got a rocket ship game in Fuller sometime this season. And why not against Detroit on Turkey Bowl? That'd be awesome. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So majority rules on that one, and Will Fuller is the pick. Although I would have actually gone with Brandon Cooks, just because, like I said earlier, the more versatile usage, he's going to get more receptions, and I think he can do a little bit more after the catch. But I'm going with majority, guys. I'm hoping you guys make me some money because, Will, you have a vested interest in helping me win. My record has been very up and down, to put it politely, so far this season. So I think I'm going to just go with you guys and tell myself to fuck off on that one. So we're going to submit that one on 10 bones. That's just a 3.5 multiplier because we selected 2 players. The ones Will really tries to talk me out of, but I tell him to kick rocks and do it anyway, are the ones where you have to pick 8 players correctly, which is almost impossible to do. But we put 5 bones down on it with a chance to win 5 hundy. So that's 5 bones well spent in my humble opinion. So we're going to get going into this next one here, gentlemen. The Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys. Okay. We're going to, let's do it, Will. Let's do it.
Oh,
We're doing
wow.
we're doing a Tutter dance. Okay. Are we going to go for the 4 times, Will? Okay, let's get into these players. Okay, we'll each pick a player. Mike, let's start with you. Out of these guys, who do you think is going to score a touchdown? So they've got the different multipliers with 2 times, 4 times, 6 times. 2 times, these 3 players that we select have to get 3 touchdowns total. 4 times, these players have to get 4 touchdowns total, which is a bit more of a long shot. The 6 times we're not even going to play with that right now because that's wild. But if you hit on one of those, please send us a screenshot because we would love to give you a shout out on Twitter with that. Mike, who here is scoring a tutter?
I mean, right off the bat, I see Terry McLaurin staring at me. It's a guy I would take pretty easily. I think we could all agree with that one, right?
Yep, send it.
Yeah.
Terry Mack. Will, where are you going? Do not say Logan Thomas, please.
Please say Logan Thomas.
I do love Logan Thomas, but
I know you do.
I gotta go with my boy, and probably, I don't know this for a fact, but probably the most efficient red zone back in the league right now, and that's Antonio Gibson, who has been an absolute stalwart for me in this touchdown dance. I mean, it's been criminal, the line that they've given out on Washington all year, and Gibson just continues to pound home these touchdowns. So Gibson is my pick, and it's almost a lock every week for this guy.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I'm looking at it here, and Zeke looks like the play, right? Washington is more susceptible against the run than they are against the pass. But another guy I'm kind of looking at is Dalton Schultz, boys. What do you guys think?
For sure.
Like, Zeke would be the safer play, the chance at the red zone carries, but am I crazy to think Dalton Schultz could get that red zone target and it could be like one of his 3 targets in the game for a touchdown?
He was actually the guy I was going to say next, to be honest with you.
So it's not crazy. And I mean, Washington has been susceptible to the tight end position.
For sure.
So,
and this is a tough one too, because you could be deciding on what multiplier you want. Because I think if we went for Zeke, we'd have a better chance to go for those 4 touchdowns and have that multiplier, because I think Zeke would be a better bet to get 2 than would Dalton Schultz. But if we want to just go and try and hit that 3, which I think is probably where we want to go if we want to have a better chance at winning. Will, what say you, buddy?
Yeah, I like Schultz here. And is he a ginger?
There looks like a couple of ginger qualities. He could be like myself though, that when his beard grows out a little bit, there's a little bit of red to it, but I'm actually blonde haired. So I'm not going to tab him ginger just yet. I don't want to throw around any false allegations. But who's the play, guys? Schultz or Ezekiel Elliott?
Hey man, you put us on the spot all night with hard questions. I'm gonna push right back on you. This is your call, man.
I love it. You're the host, Trav. You make the call.
You're
okay. And not to mention, I guess it's my money too. Zeke, I'm going Zeke. I like the Dalton Schultz play, but I think Zeke might just be a little safer bet, even going for this 2 times multiplier. Boys, let's throw a 20 spot on it. I don't need to be betting big cash or emptying my bankroll here. I just need to get some W's. So I think that's looking good. Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, and Ezekiel Elliott hopefully score 3 touchdowns tomorrow on the Thanksgiving game. So submitting that bad boy. And yeah, just another thanks to our friends over at Monkey Knife Fight, because you go over there, you use the promo code TNFF, and they will match your first deposit up to 50 bones. And you can get in there. You can play with a little bit of free cash flow. So we love playing over there. We love the whole team, and we appreciate them bringing us on. So to get my screen out of there, get us back in. Okay, fellas, this is where we're moving into Thankful or Stankful. I fully understand that it's getting a little bit late for you guys. I was mentioning before about how I was going to try and make this under a 2-hour podcast, but you know what? I'm hanging out with my buddies. I don't really give a shit anymore. So let's get into this Thankful or Stankful, fellas, because it's going to be a fun segment. The name was coined by Mike Bauer himself. And I thought it was kind of perfect because I had a lot of players come to mind for both of these categories as soon as you mentioned it. So, Mike, we're going to start with you. We're going to start on a positive note. So why don't you tell me one player that you are thankful for?
I'm going to take my number 2 guy on the list just because he was waiver wire gold. And I know we were knocking on him before, but JD McKissick, well, I get it. He sucks at football, but not at fantasy football. The guy's been 33 targets in the last 3 weeks. That is ridiculous. It's just for someone you spent a fab dollar on, he's keeping you in contention if you need a running back. Obviously, he's not as good as a Saquon Barkley or a Wayne Gallman, but he's putting it together for you. I mean, I think last week was one of his worst weeks, and he was still 8-9 points depending on league scoring and how you format it. If you do bonuses, blah blah blah. But there's a couple weeks he's solid double-digit contributors. I think he's going to be that again this week against Dallas too. To be perfectly honest with you, fire up JD McKissick. Was he on the touchdown dance? We should have put him in there.
Oh yeah,
he would have been on there. Yeah, we didn't end up going for him actually, which
that might be. Yeah. I mean,
a little bit of a sketchy one, a little bit, but it could pay off like really, really big, right? Like, because he's a pretty athletic dude. Get him in some open space, which is what they like to do with those receptions. So, no, I like that. He's helped a lot of rosters with being so cheap on the waiver wire. Well, why don't you get us into one of your thankful players? Somebody you are thankful for this season.
Absolutely. This has been a really funny season in terms of just where the production is coming from. And one player that I'm extremely thankful for is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen, we've seen some really good production over him. He's been somebody that's been he has been hampered by injuries over the year, but when he has been given opportunity, he has pretty much always produced. Currently right now, he is leading the leads in the league and both in targets with 112 and with receptions with 81. And like the one thing that's really surprised me about Keenan Allen this season is that he is actually number 2 in yak on the year, which didn't know that about Keenan Allen. And he's banking in 20 almost 20 fantasy points a game, so incredible floor with him, and again has shown really good chemistry with Justin Herbert so far, and he's just absolutely balling out. And for this is a guy that you probably were getting in redraft 5th, 6th, 7th round, and he's putting up, he's WR 8 on the year. I mean, I'm super thankful for Keenan Allen and just where he was drafted, and that everybody else has slept on him, and that transition from him from Phil Rivers to the one game of Ty God and then over to Justin Herbert, that's went seamlessly. And his production, regardless of the game or game script, just continues. So I'm extremely thankful where Keenan Allen is on my rosters. And it's funny, I'm a big robust RB guy, but on all my teams, it's my late round wide receivers that are carrying me across the board. So I'm thankful for all of them, and I'll talk about another one once we get back around to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Keenan was really, really underestimated this season. I faded him too because of the Tyrod Herbert situation. Herbert has been much more than we thought he was going to be this early in his career, and I think that has been a huge boon to Keenan Allen, who will, a testament to his underratedness. You mentioned that he was the wide receiver 8. He's actually the wide receiver 3 in PPR formats. So that just goes to show that, like, he's showing us that he's still got top 5 upside. And it's really, really nice to see from, just one of those quality players who has kind of often been overlooked as one of the best wideouts in the game. But I think he is firmly entrenched in that category. Okay, fellas. So for mine, I am going to move, and mine's kind of a timing thing too. Just on those teams looking for playoff pushes and whatnot. Obviously, this is an elite talent, in my opinion. That would be Nick Chubb. And the reason I say a timing thing is because I am heavily invested across a bunch of leagues. I probably have like 6 or 7 shares of Nick Chubb. Lost him. I thought everything was gone, and I've got a bunch of those teams that have stayed in it and have competed, and got Nick Chubb back off the injured reserve just in time to make that playoff push. So obviously I wanted him for the full season to be that stalwart running back. But he's come back. He has been a key piece to getting some of those W's. Will, you and I co-own a team, actually, where we survived to
do.
like a 7-2, 7-3 record. Nick Chubb comes back, and now our running back situation doesn't look so dire. So yeah, that's just kind of my big thing for Nick Chubb. I mentioned earlier talking about Tony Pollard's elusive rating as well. How of running backs with 50 carries, Tony Pollard easily has the best elusive rating. If you actually up that threshold to 75 carries, Nick Chubb is the leader at 112, and the guy behind him is at like 100. So as far as elusive rating goes, that's like a significant gap between those two. So Nick Chubb, I think, is just an elite talent. There was somebody online today who was saying that Nick Chubb is extremely overrated, talking about how he only has 4 targets. I mean, I think we knew that going in with Kareem Hunt there. So I think what he's shown is that he can be a top running back in the league, regardless of Kareem Hunt taking some of those targets. He's the type of guy that can pop off a big play at any time. I think there's room for positive regression in the red zone carry department as well, because Kareem Hunt's been getting some of that work. Like if you watch that Birds game last week, Nick Chubb breaks off that big 50-something yard run. He's a little bit gassed. Kareem Hunt comes in, gets that goal line carry, and hurdles a motherfucker for a touchdown. So, yeah, I think Nick Chubb has some room for positive regression, and we saw flashes last year of him being able to catch the ball. So I don't buy that he's not able to be a receiving back. I think he's just not getting that work. But Kevin Stefanski's offense is one of those ones where you can rely on 2 running backs coming out of there to produce for fantasy. And Nick Chubb is it for me, baby. What are you guys thinking, Will? I know you love him.
Oh, I'm so tired. Like people stop talking about the.
I'm tired.
I'm tired of the Nick Chubb Hunt debate. Like I've battled so much on it. If people are still beating that drum, just move on. Nobody questions Derrick Henry's usage. And you want to talk about usage that is so similar to Derrick Henry? It's Nick Chubb. Nobody has a problem with the snap share that Derrick Henry has. Nobody talks about that. And when you look at it, Nick Chubb's is probably even better. He does get more work in the passing game, minutely. But the narrative to me is just so tired on the Chubb Hunt debate. Both of them can thrive. And for all of the ones that were beating the drum that, oh, well, this is, it's just a matter of time before Hunt edges out Chubb. Hey, Hunt showed that he wore down when Chubb was out. Hunt is better from a fantasy perspective, and I'm sure from a real life football perspective when Chubb is in the lineup. And that's just what it is. People need to move on. I absolutely love Chubb. He's going to be a league winner. I would love to. What does their schedule look like down the stretch? I mean, it's too bad that Mayfield's their quarterback, but that doesn't impact the run game, does it? So,
yeah, I'm not exactly sure on that schedule, but I think this is a run game that can kind of transcend a bad schedule, right? Like I'm not sitting Nick Chubb no matter what.
So,
yeah.
So not the strength of schedule is everything, but they've got Jacksonville this week. Then they've got Tennessee. Baltimore's a tough one in 14, but check this out. They've got the Giants week 15 and then the Jets in your fantasy football championship game. I don't think it gets much better than that.
Cash money, baby. That's cash money. I love it. And there's many more reasons I like Nick Chubb. But Mike, I want you to get into another player that you are thankful for. And after you finish that, I want you to talk about maybe some honorable mentions as well.
Sure. For some reason, I don't know why, I have Dawson Knox on my thankful list. I don't remember putting him on there.
Is that another one of those little Easter eggs in the show sheet there, Will?
There's a ghostwriter. I guess that's the definition.
I don't know. You guys gave me access. You guys gave me access to the show sheet. What happens from there is completely beyond my control.
Lesson learned. Mike, get into it, buddy.
Russell Wilson for me is a guy I'm super thankful for. I finally have a couple shares of him redraft mostly this year. But a lot of people are talking about in Dynasty, you want to take this young guy, that young guy, blah, blah, blah. Why? You can get Russell Wilson so many rounds later in a startup. He doesn't miss a game. He's so consistent, just so freaking consistently good. I mean, I'm just looking at his stats right now, and they really built the offense around him too. I mean, okay, so his last game wasn't the best, 197 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I mean, he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Don't look at week 7 against Arizona when he had 3 interceptions. But for the most part, he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. And I understand that they don't ask him to do a ton, but he's super efficient with it. And if you punt the position, you can definitely get a stud running back, stud wide receiver, and just wait later. By the way, I think I'm at the point where I'm ready to draft wide receiver, trade for running back, because I don't have any luck drafting running backs lately.
2020 should have an asterisk on it where that's concerned, though. Like,
Thank you.
give them a full off season. Give them a full off season to get their bodies right, I think, and we might see a little bit more joy on the running back front in 2021, hopefully.
But some honorable mentions. I don't know. My teams have been all so bad. It's really hard to say. I guess an honorable mention for me has been the waiver wire. Really, and if you pay attention, you can get by. I picked Travis Fulgham up in a lot of spots. Giovanni Bernard has been a lifesaver for me. There's a league I'm in that I thought I was going to be real competitive. I had Miles Sanders and Joe Mixon going into the season. Right? You're good going into the season. They both missed time. So I picked up Boston Scott, picked up Giovanni Bernard. The waiver wire has been my honorable mention for the season. And that's why I tell people, pay attention to the waiver wire. And if you say it doesn't matter in Dynasty, it does, because a Dynasty league turns into a redraft league once the season starts. You got to lineups, you got to play the lineup, you got to win a championship. And I think, just real quick, and I'll let you guys take it, one narrative that we buy into again is you always have to be moving this guy, moving that guy for value or getting better somehow. Sometimes you just have to set your lineup and play your best guys and win the friggin' championship.
Don't trade just to trade. Do not trade just to trade.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
And just really quick, Will, we're going to get into your next Stankful selection, but Mike was talking waiver wires there. And if anybody wants to get a leg up on the waiver wires, these two guys are the guys you need to go and see. Mike and the Dynasty Rewind crew got a live stream every single Tuesday night with all the boys, giving you awesome insight. I love what all those guys bring to the table. And then Will puts out an article every Tuesday on TrueNorthFFB.com called Good Will Hunting. So he's giving you winning insights to lead your league on that one. And he's hit on a lot of these guys that you pick up on waivers so far this season. So those are two of my trusted resources for waiver day. And yeah, you guys have helped me in a bunch of leagues there. So Willie, why don't you get into your Stankful player?
Oh yeah, this is really tough for me, but I'm going to continue on with the wide receiver theme. I just have to say Justin Herbert, but wide receiver has been a theme in here. They're carrying my teams, and this guy was an absolute afterthought for every fantasy footballer. I don't think that there's a ton of people that were huge hype machines of Robbie Anderson. I've always been a fan. I think that he has amazing talent. He has been miscast, I believe. He has always been thought of as this deep threat. But we've seen in Carolina that he's been used all over the field. He is the clear target leader in Carolina. And he was a guy that you were picking up literally at the end of drafts, pretty much across the board. And Robbie Anderson has been a solid WR2 all season long. And his floor, it's interesting, his floor play has got me through a lot of weeks. So really thankful for Robbie Anderson. I made a note to myself in every season long draft that I was not leaving any draft without one Carolina wide receiver. And that's paid dividends. DJ Moore was the most expensive of those, but Curtis Samuel and Robbie Anderson were both complete afterthoughts and have both been, bankable WR2s, and with CSAM having a couple boom weeks. So really thankful for Robbie. And I think that role will continue rest of the season. Hopefully Teddy Two Gloves is back healthy, because they have a clear connection, the two of them.
Yeah. I like how you said that, man. It's actually funny. Robbie Anderson has been a stalwart on that roster of yours and mine that just got Nick Chubb back. We also have Robbie Anderson, who's the PPR wide receiver 13 right now. Top 5 in targets and receptions, top 10 in receiving yards. It's been incredible. He's been such a more versatile receiver than he ever got credit for. I'm taking a second go around on Robbie because he fooled me once. I got off the train. He can fool me twice if he wants, because this has been fantastic to ride this time. So that's a great call out, Will, on Robbie Anderson, because the value you got on this guy was just incredible. So my last guy that I'm thankful for, it's actually another timing piece. And coincidentally, also on that roster of yours and mine, Will, this is somebody I'm also heavily invested in, and that would be Damian Harris of the New England Patriots. This was one of my big calls at the beginning of the season because obviously Sony gets hurt a lot. New England gives a lot of red zone work, and their running backs historically have been pretty productive. Obviously, it's a bit of a spider web of bodies there with Burkhead, White, and Sony. But my thought was that Damian Harris was probably one of the most versatile pieces there, maybe aside from Rex, but definitely the most talented in Damian Harris. And there was some work to be had with these pieces that maybe ready to sail off into the sunset. And so we've kind of seen that lately with Damian Harris. He's been a great pickup for some people off waivers, or if you're in a dynasty league, he has been one of those guys that you can insert when you get a couple of injured guys and be a solid running back too for your team. And he has been just that, essentially. You're still going to get a little fluctuation in production with him just because of all the bodies that are there. But I think he's showing that he can be the future for this team. And hopefully that running back room clears up for him as far as a dynasty lens. But Damian Harris is a player that I am thankful for. Mike, what do you make of Damian Harris? Is he somebody that you are on?
I like Damian Harris. I will probably move him if I can, just because never trust Patriots running backs is kind of always my philosophy. I don't know. I'd like to see, JJ Taylor's there. If James White moves on, they seem to like to have the running back and the receiving back. So as much as I like him, I don't know if he's going to get that full workload that you really want in New England. So don't bank on him being a running back one, maybe not even really a running back two. I think he could long-term be an RB3 with RB2 upside.
Oh, I like how you said that there too, because like he might need that volume in order to produce as a strong running back too, because with Cam in the fold, that's goal line carries vultured right there. So my thinking coming into the season was that he would still get some of that work with Sony Michel previously being like a top 10 red zone carry running back. But Cam put a bit of a wrench in that. He's got the most carries in the league inside the 5 or something like that. So yeah, that was a really good point. And I do think that he may be moving towards needing some volume. So that's why I'm looking towards the future a little bit, but he's definitely been a nice piece for rosters towards the end of this season, including my own. So guys, I want to weigh towards the positive a little bit. So we're only going to do one Stankful player each. I'm just going to get mine out of the way, if that's okay, fellas, because just kind of been wanting to get this off my chest a little bit. Mike, it's extremely fitting with you here. And I just feel the need to kind of go in a little bit. So Mike, I'm glad you're sitting. I think I just heard you take a deep breath, and I'm thankful for that. And the player that I am,
by the way, when this is done, I'm going to vent. So I'm going to lay it out. It makes sense.
Please do. Please do. This is for you and me, Will. If you want to take a break, buddy, you're more than welcome to. That player that I am thankful for is Carson Wentz. It's been awful. He not only, I think everybody sees the bad throws, everybody sees the bad decisions. Everybody sees that he can't let a play die and just take a loss or take a sack or throw it out of bounds. It's super frustrating. You see the guy's got 18 turnovers, which is more than all but like 3 teams in the entire NFL. Carson Wentz has more turnovers than roughly 28 teams in the NFL himself. So another frustration there is that he teased us a little bit. He had a few good games. Travis Fulgham started to boom. We thought it was going to get good coming into the back half of the season with Fulgham cementing himself, Jalen Reagor coming back, Alshon hopefully not coming onto the active roster, but we saw that happen. And Miles Sanders getting back healthy too. And we thought that Carson Wentz was ready to take off. Not the case. The schedule is not looking good. He doesn't look like the leader that he should be after that $100 million contract. Every single turnover, every single third down missed, he's staying on the field looking around for flags. He's got his arms up. He's looking over at the sideline to say, what happened there? Why aren't they throwing a flag on that or something? Get off the field and get it on the next drive. Stop worrying about that play. If you didn't worry about that, then you wouldn't be sitting there on the next play doing the exact same thing when you fumble or throw another pick. So I just think there's something amiss as far as Carson Wentz goes. It felt really, really good to get that off my chest. One thing I will say in a positive direction, because I am that consummate Eagles fan, is I think there's no option for this team but to continue with him into 2021. I don't think Jalen Hurts is ready. It would be really cool to see him, but I also don't like this quarterback in, quarterback out stuff like what the Saints do. I don't necessarily like that for the Eagles roster. So I think they are going to continue to move forward with Carson Wentz, and he does have a decent set of weapons, but I don't know, man, because Doug Peterson's not doing him any favors with that play calling either. So I really want Carson Wentz to kind of take this roster by the balls and realize that he's the leader and he's the guy who needs to get these guys riled up instead of being the whiny bitch after he throws a pick or fumbles the ball. So that's where I sit on that. Mike, why don't you have a little vent sesh too, buddy?
Am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Dude, fire the fuck away.
I'll probably go in there. So to start with, he's been hit 90 times. I forget what the split is. It's like 40 sacks, been hit 50 times. And that's only for plays that count as a statistic. So if there was a penalty on the play, that doesn't count as a hit or a sack, obviously. So it's probably well over 100. Can't question his toughness. Can't question his drive. What you can question are some of the decisions. It's not all his fault, but it's not his fault, if that makes any sense to you. The play calling is not doing him any favors. Alshon Jeffrey is washed. Get him out of there. Just cut him. Take the loss.
Yeah.
Get Deshaun Jackson out of there. The first play of the game last week, you saw him roll out of the pocket and deliver, I think, a 20-some yard pass to Jalen Reagor.
Yes.
That's what he does well. He moves on the run. You didn't see it again the rest of the game.
No.
You have a bad offensive line, so you're going to let your franchise quarterback go back there and get murdered all game. Like I said, he's been hit 90 times. 90 times. Play calling is terrible. Miles Sanders had 2 carries for 4 yards in the second half last week. You have a struggling quarterback and a poor offensive
Unacceptable.
line, and you're going to give a star caliber running back 2 carries in the second half in a winnable game. A lot of the games that they were in this year, they were in because of him. He guts it out, and he's been bad, but the whole team is bad, to be perfectly honest with you. And the people that want Jalen Hurts in there, I got news for you, man. Jalen Hurts comes in, and that's going to be fool's gold. You know what I mean? It's
Won't be pretty.
He's gonna flash a little bit, and the guy can't run a freaking RPO that he's supposed to be so good at. They need an offensive coordinator, not a passing game specialist, not a running game specialist, not a this and that. They need an offensive coordinator. I said this on the Dynasty Rewind waiver wire show the other night. My boss is a better mechanic than I am. I'm an auto mechanic. For those of you that don't know me, it sucks. But my boss is a better mechanic than me. He's been doing it since 1982. But he is also the owner of the business, okay? He has to dictate so many things, which is why I'm the manager. At the end of the day, we have a common goal, which is to get the schedule finished. So at the end of the day, the team's goal should be to win the football game. Doug has to oversee the entire thing. He should have an offensive coordinator in there that knows his system and can build on it. Look at how good it was with Frank Reich there. He knew Doug's system. He expanded on it, okay? So I got news for all you Eagles fans out there that want Carson Wentz gone. When he's winning a Super Bowl as an Indianapolis Colt or a Pittsburgh Steeler in a couple years, because you want him gone so bad, you're going to be pissed off. And when we're 14 and Jalen Hurts is on IR and the ghost of Sam Bradford is quarterbacking this team, it's going to be a dark day in Philadelphia. So be careful what you wish for if you're an Eagles fan that wants Carson Wentz gone, because the grass is not always greener. And also, you're talking about the flags and everything like that. You're going to do that stuff too if you're constantly looking over your back at Nick Foles or Jalen Hurts. So if you have confidence in a guy, you don't make dumb decisions like drafting Jalen Hurts in the second round. When there's plenty of talent there. Like, gee, I don't know. Maybe they could have drafted a fucking linebacker instead of trotting Nate Gary out on the field. The shirt's still available. So I don't care if he's
FruityandGlobal.com. FruityandGlobal.com.
Hey, it is Thanksgiving now, Pork Man. Got to keep it classy on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
That's right. It's past midnight where you guys are at. Nice.
The Bauer
Happy Thanksgiving.
Hour is on. We're on hour 3.
Yeah, we're going on hour 3 of the Bauer Hour. So, Will, I dare you to find something that the two of us didn't cover as far as the Eagles situation there, and then roll into your Stankful player as well.
I do have one. I mean, I got a lot of Eagles players across across the board. I thought Wentz was going to have a good season. Pretty vested in Goddard. He has been productive. I love Sanders, so I've got Sanders all over. My question to both of you would be, we were all thinking, okay, once his weapons come back, Wentz is going to get better. The team's going to get better. They're going to win more. But I would argue that they were actually better when they were playing shorthanded all those games.
It's like they
just with their asses on fire.
They want to have this underdog mentality. Yeah, and it's just like, just stop, man. Stop with the whole hungry dogs run faster. That was 3 years ago. Super Bowl 52 was a long time ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Magic is done and gone. Just like 2004, one team, one city, one dream. That died in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. You got to move on. You have to get better. If New England could do it, you can figure out a way to do it too. That easy.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Great. Jeremy Chin was available when Jalen Hurts was drafted. Pretty damn good.
Denzel Mims was available. Double up. Rager and Mims. Could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Ooh, that would have been
happy with T. Higgins.
That'd be awesome.
Michael Pittman. He's I wanted on this team so bad.
Yeah. Chase Claypool. Definitely.
Chase Claypool.
Don't even say it.
Fantastic.
Don't even say it.
I need to say I was wrong about Chase Claypool. But I think part of it too was I did not like Ian Book, his quarterback at Notre Dame. And I said, I think Claypool would look better and have better statistics if he had a better collegiate quarterback. And we see what he can do with the proficient passer at the next level. I mean, the guy, could you imagine a team that somehow managed to get DK Metcalf and Chase Claypool on the same team?
What a nightmare. What a nightmare
Just
to defend
laughing.
against.
Scary.
Okay, Big Willie style. Get into your Stankful player.
So there's quite a few running backs that I am extremely Stankful for. So narrowing it down, geez, it is tough. But I think that in terms of putting my chips all in on one player, it's got to be Jonathan Taylor. And I don't think it's an indictment of his talent or what he's going to do in the league, but for fantasy purposes this year, when you were taking him potentially in the third or fourth round of redrafts, certainly in your rookie drafts, he was the almost, if your rookie draft was early, he was a clear 101, even with CEH being announced as a starter. There were still people that would sometimes go JT there too. So not because I don't like the player, I just, in terms of what I was expecting to get back, in terms of fantasy production, just hasn't been there. It's been an extremely stanky season watching Naheem Hines get the bulk, if not all of the valuable targets in that game. And then for whatever reason, Jordan Wilkins, even fumbling like he does, still getting goal line work, still getting kind of in between the tackles. Maybe we've turned a page. I just think that it's a super stanky situation there in Indianapolis, and I am very Stankful right now for Jonathan Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
It's rough, man. It's rough.
Yeah, dude. I think for him, we're thankful that we're dynasty players, right? Because you can play the long game with him. Well, you have to play the long game with him right now because you're not going to sell him for pennies on the dollar. And we're still hopeful that offensive line is still one of the best in the league. Frank Reich is one of the best play callers in the league. And so hopefully that situation just clears up for JT and he can be what we thought. And he did show some flashes this past week. The yards per carry doesn't look good, but I don't know if that tells the full story necessarily. And so, yeah, I think he can pick it up and be what we hoped he would. Mike, you are going to wrap this puppy up with your Stankful player, buddy. So who is it?
We're going to stick with quarterbacks. It's going to be Drew Lock. It might be time to start to kind of wonder if he's injury prone. And I hate to do it. You know what I mean? He was hurt to start his rookie season last year. I think he missed the first 11 or 12 games.
Yeah.
The ghost of Joe Flacco was holding it down. Then Brandon Allen, the aforementioned Brandon Allen, started a game. And I think he won that game too. But he's super inconsistent when he's on the field. Got his stats up here. Look at last week against Miami. 18 of 30 for 270 yards, no touchdowns and one pick. I mean, I know Carson turns the ball over, but Drew Lock, 7 touchdowns and 11 picks. And I'm looking at a bunch of fumbles here too.
He's done.
Yeah. So,
Anybody get Bortles vibes off of Drew Lock?
and I hate to say it too, because it's like, yes, Porkman, I know I do love Drew Lock. I still love him, and I'm still going to just remain hopeful and optimistic here. Let's just chalk it up to maybe losing Cortland Sutton had something to do with it. Jerry
Definitely
Jeudy,
it was a factor, but
TJ
I
Hamler.
just think he's one of those guys that you're hoping for garbage time from him, right? He's kind of got that gunslinger mentality. That's why I say Bortles, because Bortles used to sling it and he was great for fantasy, but only due to garbage time.
Don't watch the game. Just check your score afterwards and you'll be fine. You watch the game, you're going to be super frustrated.
That's the one thing about Bortles is he had that rushing upside. We haven't seen that with Locke. I remember it was when he came back from injury. I had started him just as a streamer in a season long, and everybody's chirped me out. He's got 9 points at half. I said, just watch, just watch. But my thing, Mike, like, were you super high on him coming into the season?
I was. I actually, in a couple startups, I drafted him as my guy.
Okay.
But it was later. So I was punting the position and trying to load up. And I was like, well, all right, he's their guy. I'm going to take a shot here. And I know people say that you have to go early, Superflex quarterback. I didn't do that in one league. I ended up with my starting 2 running backs were Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders, and I ended up with Josh Allen and Daniel Jones. So
nice.
I guess, my whole thing lately is buck the narrative. Use your head.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like, trust your instinct. Porkman and I talk about this a lot. We almost feel like we should apologize to some of our listeners, and you guys are analysts too. I want your thoughts on this. Like, I move guys in and out of my rankings based on consensus on Twitter and in this community, and I really need to stick with what I feel is right. Like, I love Justin Herbert. I loved him a lot. I had him over Tua, and I moved Tua ahead of him because everyone's like, Tua's better, but I like Herbert better. Why in that?
Yeah, he's proven it this year, and I think Drew Lock is one of those guys who could potentially just fall off. I like what you said there, Mike. You got to stick to your own morals. Like, I'm somebody who analyzes. I call it stat-based opinions. Is kind of the type of analyst that I am. I like to look at stats and stuff. I'm not doing a bunch of math and spreadsheets and whatnot, but I know my way around some stat databases, and I can kind of interpret what it means and kind of apply it to my thoughts on players. So that's kind of how I analyze. But no, I'm with you. It's really hard not to let that consensus get in, especially when you got Linda on Twitter every Sunday talking about how Drew Lock's the best quarterback in the league, right? We love you, Linda, but Drew Lock's not the best quarterback in the league.
She also chose Truly lemonades that she bought at a gas station. So take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean?
That's cool for us because we can't buy booze at gas stations up here, Mike. It's
I can't in Pennsylvania either. For the
right on. Solidarity, brother. Solidarity.
But we can't buy anything right now. The governor shut down alcohol sales at 5 p.m. tonight until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Damn. It's going to have a lineup at 8 a.m. to get a couple bevies.
You guys are Canadian. Obviously, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving up there. Not missing much, by the way. Just a lot of turkey.
Well, we do. Just not today.
The night before is apparently the biggest night to go out drinking in the States because, people come home, they visit family, then they meet up with their old hometown friends. Personally, it's a shit show. I don't do it because it's just dumb. I don't do it. Plus, I have family now, so I just stay home. So lockdown's been great for me. You don't want me to go anywhere? Got it.
Okay. Another instance of you being a host and not even know it. You finished us off with Drew Lock as your last player, and then you talk about lockdown being beneficial for you.
Didn't even know
You're next level, Mike. You're next level, buddy. That's awesome, dude. I just want to say thank you to you guys for coming on the episode because you were right. I cannot get a podcast down under like an hour and a half. So I'll give you guys that. But you were kind of in the wrong because in my opinion, we just had a blast for 2+ hours, boys. Totally. Always a great time chatting with you guys. We are, the three of us are in the DMs probably like every day shooting the shit. So I appreciate your friendship more so than necessarily just coming on the pod, but it's great to have you guys on. And I think we made a good epi, boys. Will, how'd you find the epi? You have a blast?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time rocking out with you guys on a pod or just when we're talking, it's always just really appreciate, your football knowledge, your energy, your passion, and overall, your friendship. It's these COVID times have certainly been difficult, but being able to call both you guys friends has made it a lot easier. And great discussion this evening, and always appreciate the opportunity to rock out with both y'all.
Yeah, I'm impressed you guys are still awake.
That's-
How you hanging in there, Mike?
I'm okay. All right. My wife said I get to sleep in tomorrow. That's a lie. So
Nice.
I'll take it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Hey,
Pork man, I love you too, buddy.
absolutely. Yeah,
I just tease because I love. That's
absolutely.
all, man. It looks like Dawson
Absolutely.
Knox might play this weekend too, so that's always a
Would you
always a
look at
blessing.
that? It's going to be a good Thanksgiving for old Pork Daddy.
Don't start it.
Right on, guys. So yeah, Will can be found on Twitter at It's Harris Time. If you want to find his content, I mentioned the waiver wire article on Tuesdays on TrueNorthFFB.com. Also, tune in at halftime of Sunday Night Football on this very network, the TNFF network on YouTube. And you can find him and our buddy Josh Smoky Hell Nelson doing great work on the Jet Sweep show. Yeah, I can't say enough, Will, about what you guys are doing on there. It's fantastic. It's usually for me, that's right after dinner or so, just lounging with the kids, relaxing, watching Sunday Night Football, pop you guys on, and you guys bring that energy that the Sunday Night Football halftime does not bring. So I appreciate that and love the content that you guys are putting out. So thanks a lot for that, buddy. And then old Mikey Bauer can be found at Dynasty Rewind on Tuesdays and Fridays. Lots of big things in the works for the Rewind crew. Just that crew in general. Like, you guys are such a great mix. You guys have such good chemistry. Your hosting prowess is incredible. Chev, Nate, Porkman, and Sean the intern, all dropping great knowledge on there. So we appreciate what your guys' show does for us as far as our fantasy teams, as well as just kind of like a place to go on a Tuesday and Friday night to feel like you're just chilling with the boys talking football. So thank you again, Mike, for coming on with us Canadian boys. It was a pleasure to have you on the Bauer Hour.
Bauer, 2 hours. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me on. Been looking forward to this for a while. I mean, I think the three of us been talking about it for a month or so. So just glad that it could finally happen. Hope to be on again real soon.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, wait, seriously.
Yeah, we have a good time. So I appreciate everybody listening. I know Porkman was in here for almost the entire stream. I think he's probably still in there. So we appreciate you slogging it out with us for 2+ hours, buddy. You can find the crew's work, like I said, at TrueNorthFFB.com. Find me at TSeal14 and make sure you subscribe to the TNFF network. Because like I said, we got 5 live shows weekly right now. If you go to our Twitter page, there is a pinned tweet that we're going to be putting out weekly that Dan made graphics made with our entire weekly content schedule. So if you go to the True North Twitter page, you know what to expect and you know when to expect it. So thanks again for anybody tuning in. Really appreciate the support. Make sure you subscribe to all the channels. Talk to you next week, guys. Peace.